Hello, salutations, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with another episode of the Perspectives Podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Littyyy Bro Flacko. This is Holden Stephan Roy. Say hi, Holden.
Hi, Holden.
Hey, my guy with the hi, Holden, always ready, prep to go. Ishmael is in the comments of the Twitch stream, letting us know that we are live on his screen. We are very well aware of that, Ishmael. We are very well aware when we are or are not live. We are professionals, sir. But we thank you for the enforcement and the recognition of what we are doing, sir.
I appreciate your quality control. Keep doing that.
Facts. Work. Holden appreciates your quality control. But by the way, fam, just so that you know, once again, while we're live on the show, you can't just say "you're" and then automatically become a New Yorker. That's not the way being a New Yorker works. That's not, if that was the case, then anybody could say "yay" and be from the Bay, and that is not the way that this works, sir. And with that, right? We're gonna segue to introducing our guest. Since I talked about the Bay, right? We have a Bay Area indie legend, battle rap legend, veteran of the Bay Area. Really, at this point, I've been privileged enough to know my brother for many, many years. So I'm well aware of the fact that it's not just a Bay Area thing. It's a Cali thing with the big bro. You know what I mean? Oh, with my fault with the big bro. I hate it when people that older than me call me big bro. Like, you gotta relax, bro. All right, you know you older than me. Who you calling big bro? I'm the big bro in this situation. Little bro over here, right, is not really just from the Bay, right? It's a whole Cali thing. But he's a Bay legend, a Bay Area veteran to the battle rap scene, indie legend, producer extraordinaire, now EO Dub family, Viva La Mesa member, brother of mine, Lonnie Oceans.
Yes, sir, man. What's going on, yo?
Welcome.
What's going on, man? Much.
We're good, bro. We are
Super
you know
good.
what I mean? Happy to have you here. You're taking us on a journey, right? We already worked this out behind the scenes. We're making sure that the homie gets home to the blunts. You know what I mean? Because he could have did this from the office, but I had a sneaking suspicion. I'm like, I'm comfortable as well in my office environment, right? Like now, right? Like previous to battle rap, I used to live a very corporate life, and I was not comfortable in that environment to be my full 100% unabashed natural self. You know what I mean? And corporate environments kind of do that. You know what I mean? Luckily, I'm blessed in the company that I work at now. If we were to get our office space back, I would feel totally comfortable showing up as my 100% true, genuine self. Literally dressed like this, talking like this. I could show up with my fronts in my mouth and like shining with all my gold on and dripping like I'm about to go to a video shoot, and the homies at the company will be like, "Oh, look at Dip today," you know what I mean? Like the company owners are like with me on the like you know what I mean? But like that's like a rare thing, right? And even then, they like in our office space, for as much as they're like cool with me and down, right? Like they would still not be like, yeah, feel free to spark up a blunt.
I was
in
gonna be
the
like,
office
there's
building.
that one part.
Where like there's still that one part that it's just like, well, you still can't smoke a joint in here, bro. Like it's an office building. What are you doing? Like you cannot do that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so we worked it out behind the scenes for Lonnie to make his way. So he's driving home now. He should be home, I think, if I'm not mistaken, by like my calculations, he should be home in maybe like about a half hour. I think maybe like a half, 40 minutes,
Yeah.
something like.
I'm still on the freeway right now. I'll be off the freeway in like 10 minutes.
Get it.
Work,
You know,
work. Right.
area.
So, bro, the way that we like to do the show, right, is like, because this is all about your origin story and who you are, but like, we like to get, like, you know, people acclimated with like us, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you're here, right? And like, we, even beforehand, right, when we were talking on the Zoom before we went live, my dumb ass, I did not like, I don't know if you and Holden might have met on the EO Dub stream before. I was about to say I didn't introduce you guys, but then I just thought about it right now, and I'm like, maybe you guys have met before, and maybe that's me.
I'm aware of the name.
Word. So you guys haven't. This is your first time e-meeting online, face to face. Yeah. Right. Right. So like, exactly. So like, it's good to, you know what I mean? Like, Lonnie, this is my good friend Holden. I call him Ho-Ho, as you've heard me say a couple times now. I got that from his wife, Bonbon, who calls him Ho-Ho privately, her amongst just
it's not
him
private
and her
at all.
home.
It's not private in the least.
It's not private at all anymore. You know what I mean? Like, if it was private before, I got a hold of it. I'll tell you this much. It ain't private
If
now.
anything,
bitches,
y'all just made it sticky. Once Flacko got a hold of it, everyone else jumped on board, and it was over. It was like, now New Yorkers doing it. We have to do it.
You already know how this should go. You know what I'm saying? Littyyy, bro, Flacko always gonna be setting some trends or something. You know what I'm saying? But so I can't believe I just talked about myself in the third person, and I added the Littyyy, bro. Yo, I am on one today. My midday nap did me quite well, apparently. Old man napping. So anyway, we do our origin story, right? And it goes that when we were doing Littyyy Bros Volume 1, right? Me and Jess and Paulie, you know how I get down with the mess side, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people probably aren't aware, and I might not have talked about that enough last week when we had Merker on the show. But like me and a lot of the homies that I've been cool with via either battle rap or the internet or real life all have had a Facebook group for many years called, first it started out as the Cool Kids Table, then we left and we renamed it The Table, then we left that group and we renamed it Viva La Mesa, and now we still have Viva La Mesa, but we also have a new public group that's the Lunchroom. Me and Joe have known each other since before then, right? And so like I think that you're aware through La Mesa, like how a lot of these friends and friendships have been built, and like Merker came to us at La Mesa through one of the many Mesa dramas that we had throughout the years with another Facebook group, and Merker, I just got cool with him. He same as like I got cool with a lot of people online, and when me, Jess, and Paulie were working on Volume 1, like it was middle of pandemic, right? It was 2020. We were like full pandemic swing. We had already started working on it before pandemic, 2019, probably like when COVID actually first was born. Me and Jess were first starting the first session for Littyyy Bros. We just didn't know. Bitch, you gotta relax, Siri. You are in my business. You gotta chill out, Siri. My iWatch over here talking to me crazy. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. So we were working on Volume 1, and I told Jess, that I didn't, he's similar to you, he's a rapper, producer, right? But like also he's like an engineer. I think you also engineer a little bit. I'm not sure. I think you engineer your own stuff is what it is, right? Mostly. I've never really seen you too much online offering up to like, mix other people's shit. I guess we'll get into that, right?
Yeah, the engineering I do, I've engineered a couple of things. I don't offer too much just because like I'm not at a place where I feel comfortable doing that with other people. But I've engineered, including my project. I've engineered two other projects for two homies of mine this year.
What?
So
Wave Master shit, right? Or
the wave make, yeah. One of them is from the Wave Makers, and another one is just a good homie of mine. You know what I'm saying? That I wanted to help him get his project out. So
right, work.
uh,
Right. So, but like the point, that I'm trying to get to here, my long-windedness is like Jess is, engineer, producer, rapper, videographer, graphic designer. Jess is all these things, right? I call him the cheat code and shit. And I told him when we were doing volume 1, I was like, bro, I need you to like fall the fuck back from everything. Like, I don't need you to do anything but be a goddamn fucking rapper. You know what I'm saying?
telling me that. Yeah.
Like I need you to focus the fuck up on rapping. Like, I mean, and it's not like his rapping ever suffered from him doing all those things, right? Like I think that sometimes, like, as a multitasker myself, I think that I thrive the more things that I have going on and the more that I have on my plate and the more pressure that there is to like perform at like a high level, the more like the better sometimes that I do perform when I have all those things going on. But like I was very insistent on that first volume of like, listen, I'm gonna pay for the production from producers that like I've been eyeballing and listening to tracks from for a while. I got a sound that I built for this volume 1, and you're going with it. And I have graphic designers that I'm gonna like hire to like do the artwork, that like guys that I've been like eyeballing their artwork on the side. And so like it's all these things. And so like in that was like, oh, I've been hearing Merker's like work and like some of his mix downs on other things, and I was like, yo, I want to hire him for some work for us. And so I reached out to Merker and like gave Merker the job of like mixing down the whole album for volume 1. And with that being said, right, like I always tell people on the show that like the homie Merker might as well be from New York, right? Because like he works like the way a New York engineer would work, which is like, yo, I just work, period. You know what I mean? I'll engineer a trash rapper session in a fucking heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like it's all about this bread. You know what I'm saying? And Merker doesn't really promote like any of the artists that he engineers for, right? So like that's why I say like he might as well be in New York, because that's a very New Yorker move. Like, nah, because if I promote one of you motherfuckers, then I gotta promote all you motherfuckers. And that's what we not doing out this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we not doing out this bitch. But when he worked on our project, he ended up promoting that, and Holden took a notice of that because he was on Merker's page and he noticed that like he doesn't like, for as much as like he engineers, and Holden is up there in Montreal with Merker, and they still hadn't met in person up until that moment in volume 1, but like he knew of Merker's work and like people that have worked with him and whatnot, and so he was very well aware of like Merker doesn't really, he had been on his Facebook for a while and on his other social medias, but like mostly his Facebook is where he operates, right? Same as me, same as like a lot of us, right? And he noticed that Merker doesn't really promote much music that's not, his, or or stuff that's in the industry. So when he saw him promote our volume 1, and he promoted it like really like, he promoted it like, yo, I've never like done cocaine and partied in New York City, but like if I were to do that, I'd like to do it with the Littyyy Bros. And like it was like promoting like our latest video, which was like Party Instead, which like had cocaine in the video and shit, and like was like a heavy like an actual like party night. We were on a party bus and like going crazy. And so with that, right, like Holden saw Merker promote us, it was just like, yo, the homie Merker don't ever promote shit. You know what I mean? So like, let me go check this out. And he promoted it with like a stellar, like stellar words and shit. And so he goes and checks it out, and I guess he kind of liked what he heard. You know what I mean? And he then Holden had already been doing like he already had a YouTube channel for like, what was it, Holden, like 3 years? He had like a 3-year-old or two, a few years old YouTube channel at that point when we met in 2020, where he had been mostly, for the most part, reviewing music and doing like album reviews and shit like that. He had already started doing some interviews, but like he was mostly like, his channel was mostly dedicated to like doing album reviews.
Yeah.
And like I was right. You gonna cut me off, Holden? That's what we doing here. We doing some different shit. I'm extending the intro, so it's all right. We doing different shit right now. So, so he was like, I forgot what it was, but like he did an album review, and he did like the most extensive album review I've ever had done. Like he did like a track by track breakdown and was like breaking down like each track like in ways that like most people just don't do, right? So I was just like taken aback. Like it was like an hour long album review. You know what I'm saying? Like who the fuck sits back and reviews your album for an hour and shit? I was like, yo, I like this guy. You know what I mean? I was just immediately like, you know us, artists. You know what I mean? Like, we're fucking like anybody who like takes the time to like actually break down our art. It's like, oh my god, you're you're a soul that I've been looking for my whole life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so I immediately got thirst bucket, and in the comments of the album review was like, yo, we should do an interview. And he was like, I mean, I was about to tell you that I wanted to, I was going to hit you up for an interview. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, well, say no more. Let's do an interview. And we did that interview, bro. And like, I tell people all the time, like, I felt like I went to therapy. You know what I'm saying? Because like at that point, like, I feel like I've done so many interviews, I think you can relate, especially from like the era that we started with battle rap, right? And like with like internet, with rapping and posting stuff online. Like there was this like, I've done a lot of fucking interviews in my time, bro. And for the most part, I never, ever, 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 until the interview with Holden, did not speak about my childhood in any fucking form or fashion. Because all the interviews I ever did since I started rapping always centered around some bullshit like, so when did you fall in love with hip hop? When did you fall in love with hip hop? Which is just like, nigga, we watch Brown Sugar, bro. Get your own fucking questions, yo. You know what I'm saying? But also, it was, if it wasn't that, it was always like, because of battle rap, I feel like a majority of the interviews I ever did were always just so battle rap centric. You know what I mean? Like if it wasn't these generic questions like, when did you fall in love with hip hop, or like, would you be willing to join the cast of Love and Hip Hop, was another like standard question that started happening after Love and Hip Hop began. You know what I mean? And we were doing battle rap around the time when Love and Hip Hop first began and shit, like the first season. Like I feel like it always like ran hand in hand, those questions. And it was just always these litany of, and if it wasn't that, like I said, it was all these like fucking fucking like battle rap questions. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think about this battle? What do you think about that battle? Who do you think won? Who do you think's gonna win? What do you think about the beef behind the scene? It's just all this shit that is just like, yo, but it's like, I want to talk about like me. You know what I mean? Like I have a life outside this shit. You know what I mean? So like I was a typical, New Yorker. Like after that first interview with Holden, I was like, yo, this is pretty fucking dope. And I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put on all my motherfucking homies. You should. And I was like, yo, Holden, we should sit down with some of my friends, and you should interview them. And then I acted like it was gonna be a just him by himself thing. And like immediately, very quickly, I realized that like I'm a fucking attention hog, and it became a us show more than a him show. But like that's like our origin story, you know what I mean? And like here we are, like fucking 62
It's
episodes
62,
in,
yeah.
62 episodes in November, I believe it is. We make 2 years at the end of
December.
November.
December.
Okay, the beginning of December, we make 2 years, which is like basically like right, like we're in August, so like all that's left is September, October, November, 4 months. You know, like we're like 4 months away. You know, from being 2 years into this journey of ours. You know what I'm saying? And like we've sat down with many of the homies, and it's just been a beautiful, blessed journey. You know what I'm saying? Um, but like I always like for everybody to like know, you know what I mean? Like I always like to shout out Merker, and I like to get, because a majority of the guests on the show are like more than likely a close friend of mine in some form or fashion. I always like to like be like, hey, you know me, but this is now how you get to know uh the homie Holden. I always forget in the Zoom with the mirror
Yeah, it's
effect
not even, and
which
it's like
side
on
of
one
me he's
stream
on
it's
and
on
shit.
one side, on another stream it's
On
on the
one
other, so it's all miscabibbled.
the homie Holden and shit. So like that's why I always, like to say our origin story, you know what I'm saying? But like Holden has like a bunch of questions that he be having ready and shit, and then I always just jump in throughout the interview. But like I like to cut him off at the beginning and ask like a very simple thing for you to like answer to the people, which is tell the people who you are, um, like what you're known as, what you've been known as, right? Because like I fought that all the way through this interview. Is like through the intro, right? Like I fought like naming, right? Like because I always like tell people to like tell the people who you are, and I don't know why, but the homies always take it to be like, "Yo, my name is Ronaldo Rivera." Like which I never do. Like when I do mine, it's like when people ask me who I am, I'm like, "Yo, you know what I mean?" Like I start running down the list of names, like the many aliases I might be known as, but I never give people my real name, even though I just gave them my real name right now.
You did.
But tell the people who you are, where you're from, and where your parents are from.
Yes, sir, man. So, Lonnie Oceans, some of y'all know me as Joe. You know what I'm saying? Lord Oceans, you feel me? Oceano, you feel me? Thelonious J. Wetfoot, you know what I'm saying? The man with the golden suit, you know what I'm saying? AKA Smokey Beverly, you know what I'm saying? I'll be having names for days, man.
Don't forget to give them the OG original.
The Detective Blacksmith.
Yo, that
Or
is
the
how I
worst
met
name
you, bro.
ever.
That's how I met you as. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I met you as.
Dog, that's crazy. So first of all, Flacko, I think I've known you about 10 years.
Yeah, more at this point probably.
It's because I think I feel like it was like 2012 was when I was like really like meeting like a lot of people and shit. So I know we became real cool like in 2012. So that's crazy to think of, man. And blessed to have met you in person during that 10-year stint as well too. But yeah, man, I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, border Inglewood, 92nd, and Cimarron. Grew up there with my mama and my grandmama for the first 6 years of my life. My folks got married. My pops was in the Army. We moved up to the Bay Area, little suburb called Concord, California. So I grew up out here, and another town over Pittsburgh. That's like where I've done most of my growing up. Currently, I am in the Bay Area still. Don't know if I'm gonna ever leave this motherfucker because I love it out here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, that's this is my stomping grounds. This is my my place of growth. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I have a deep appreciation for Los Angeles and for the Bay as well too. For those that like are not out here, it's like a huge like city rivalry between the two. You know what I mean? I'm the person that's like Switzerland in between, just because like I've lived in both. I love both equally. So I'm not on that, one is better than the other type of shit. I just fuck with I fuck with California in general. I'm blessed and happy. It reminds me, like every time I talk about this shit, it reminds me of how proud you are to be from New York. You know what I'm saying? In comparison, because it's like, nigga, I could have been born in like North Dakota or some shit.
You could have. We all dodged the bullet out there, motherfucker. I could have been born in Vancouver. I don't want that shit. Shouts to Vancouver.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have all
I'm
sorts
sure.
of I know for a fact that Vancouver has a really positive thing going, which is like Vancouver has been like the way that Cali is in Canada with the bud for many fucking years, from what I understand. Like Vancouver is the Cali.
They also got like mad
Canada,
like the geography is like everything that grows will grow bigger and brighter and more powerful. So,
in Vancouver.
Yeah. Well,
I heard Vancouver got flame out there.
Yeah. Facts. And and let's be real, right? Like Joe. I'm sorry, bro. We're gonna go through this whole fucking interview, right? Because like I'm used to calling you Joe at this point,
right.
But like,
hey, it's why I be trying not to call you Dutch. Even
facts. No, but you're good. I always tell the
honestly,
homies,
Matt, they just all call him Dutch.
Like,
they just give up after about 15 minutes.
Yeah, everybody who's known me from back in the Dutch days, like, which is like essentially like everybody who's known me in these New York City streets. Like, I got my name really early. I was blessed to get my name pretty early. I still went through shitty names, but like I got Dutch given to me really early. So like everybody who essentially knows me from like almost like senior year of high school knows me as Dutch till now. You know what I'm saying? Which is like a long time now. But like, so like I don't expect people to like fucking start calling me Flacko. You know what I mean? Like, but like I also like don't mind. But like I also like to respect people's name changes and like observe them. But like I also understand, right? Like why people call me Dutch, because my reflex is to call you Joe and shit.
Dog, it's the same way. Like I was just telling my homegirl about this the other day, because like people that know me now call me Lonnie, but like I've been Joe since 6th grade. You know what I'm saying? Like my real name is Joseph. But people that have known me since I was 11 years old call me Joe. But pretty much since like 2015 and shit, like if I meet a bitch or whatever, I'll tell her my name is Lonnie. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Like if I'm just like, I'm out and about, I might meet somebody, I'll tell them my name is Lonnie and shit, just because like I like the duality of it, you know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, I don't like a lot of people these days knowing my real name. So it's like, it's crazy too, because like my ex, she used to call me Lonnie. That's what she knew me as. So it's like introducing me to her mama was like, I want your mama to know my government name. You know what I'm saying?
Word, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
you were like, well, if we to this point where I give a fuck about meeting your mama enough, then your mama should know me by my real name.
Right.
You should also probably call me by my real name and not introduce me as fucking my rap name and shit. Like,
I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, I'm Lonnie Oceans. You feel me? Like, nah, bro. Like, nah, I'm Joe.
Yo, honestly, if you had not said it, I would have just believed that was your name, bro. I never would have second guessed that in my fucking.
It's a fly name.
It just sounds real. It just sounds like a government.
Hey, people think that like that is like it's for real my real name. So it's like I'll fuck with people too, right? Because there's like I might go like 3 or 4 months with somebody calling me Lonnie before they ever find out that that's not my government name. You know what I mean? So like, people will ask, well, how'd you come up with me? I don't be telling everybody like the shit that I do. You know what I mean? Like, cause I'm just not one of the people that's like, I don't just be going and telling bitches I rap and I do all this and that. Like, you feel me? That's the information I give to folks that I feel is worth that time. You know what I mean? But but for the most part though, like especially nowadays, like I tell people just call me whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? Just don't call me a bitch ass nigga. That's it. Like, so like. Joe, Bonnie, whatever, just, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I can empathize.
My friends flip between.
I can empathize. I have like, listen, I have friends that like have known me actually right since before I got Dutch, and like they know me as Ronaldo, right? But like they call me Ray, like, and they just know me as Ray, and it just is what it is, you know, like. And
I
then
mean,
there's like other people that call me other things that are not like nicknames that like I'm not telling the rest of you, like the world. That I'm like, that is that one person who gets to have that one nickname for me, and I've given them this privilege and this benefit, and nobody else gets that. And like when I hear that name, I know who the fuck to turn around and see,
Mhm.
and that's the only person I'm ever gonna see when I hear that name. You know what I mean? And like, and the names I get called, and like I know where you know me from by how what you call me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so, but you know what? I could empathize with the name because like I for a lot of years, a lot of people met me and really thought Dutch Vega was my real name. Like they swore that my mama named me fucking Dutch. That I'm like, do you not know hip hop enough to know how like rap, New York rap, the name Dutch is? You know what I mean? Like that's that. Like you really think like my mama out here naming? But it's also like it also jives.
I
Like
mean,
there are
like you say it like
there
that, and
are
as you said it, there's a part of me that went, yeah. I'm not. I wouldn't be like 1,000,000% surprised.
yeah, nah. There's I wouldn't be exactly. I wouldn't be surprised either, which is why like I understand some people thinking that like Dutch Fake is my real name, and I'm just like I
I
always am
mean,
just
bro,
like,
like
you think
that
my
name,
mama named me
bro,
Dutch?
nigga, that name is iconic to me just because like it's a clean name. It flows off the tongue. You know what I'm saying? And then it's easy. You know what I'm saying? Like people calling you Dutch is dope to me. You know what I'm saying? Because like it's not an actual name you give somebody, but it's just like a cool ass thing. You feel me? And then you know what I'm saying? And then the Vega, like the Vega gives it a little bit of spice. You feel me?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Nah, definitely. I tell you this, in my journey of like having the name, right? Like there were so many times that I came across other people being bothered by me, right? Like having the name and them also having a Dutch name. But like I think that they're truly bothered because like they did not have the cool Dutch name. You know what I mean? Like, and also like I got like a certain particular type of like, I guess, privilege. The where you know what I mean? Like I think Dutch Black from Grind Time Syracuse hates me because I'm the more popular Dutch between the two of us. But it's just like, one, you came after me. Two, like Dutch Black just don't sound like that sounds like two random names in the hood that get like a lot of people get given. Like in New York City, there's a Dutch per neighborhood. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
just like it was just like, you know, nobody ended up having Dutch Vega. And I got blessed to be at Grind Time when Grind Time was popping and blowing up and being on World Star, and the hood is paying attention to World Star at the time, and then
Mm-hmm.
being you know, one of the league runners with Poison Pen and PH and Saracana, and like I had all these cosigns, so it's like I got a popularity that like maybe some of the other Dutches didn't get, but like it also was the fact that like my Dutch name was cooler than theirs, right? There was this one dude that used to rap and write graffiti, and he used to help PH, rest in peace, find venues for Grind Time East Coast events. And he was a white dude named Dutch Master, and he hated me. This motherfucker despised me. I think I'm not sure, knock on wood, if he is or isn't, but like I think I heard that he had passed away as well. Um, Regardless if he's alive, like haha, right? But like, if he's dead, oh well, motherfucker. But like, the truth is that like he used to hate me because I was wildly popular, and everybody used to like refer to me as like the Dutch, like, and
Right.
also me being Dutch Vega and being like known more, I would automatically get given Dutch Master as an alias by people. Like there's to this day, there's people that I meet that meet me through homies. Like you met. Oh no, you didn't meet Hot. But like my best man at my wedding, my boy Hot Rizzo, he still calls me Dutch because like him and his group of friends, my group of friends from back then, they were the ones that named me Dutch. So like to them, I'll never be anything but Dutch. You know, when I made the name change, he hit me up by text and was like, "Yo, mama named you Dutch. I'ma call you Dutch." And I'm like, you know, goddamn well, my mama did not name me Dutch, motherfucker. I don't know what the fuck is you talking about and shit. But like he like still introduces me to people as Dutch, and like then I meet those people, and those people will then in start being like Dutch Master, and I'm just like, word, like you know what I mean, like. Fine, I don't care.
So you inherited
like,
from his name just off the drift.
Right. So where it's just like, yeah, I mean, that is where the name came from, right? Like Dutch Masters and Garcia Vegas is what we were smoking at the time in New York City. And like Vegas only on special occasions. And so like Dutch Masters on a daily. And so it was just like, yo, when they gave me Dutch because I was the young nigga that was like doja'd out and forced to go to the store for Dutches and like forced to roll up because like I was being taught how to roll and taught all these things, right? Like, so, but like the name didn't come from a prestigious place. It came from being the young one in the crew and being doja'd out. You know what I mean? Like, go to the store, little man. Go to the store. You know what I mean? And then eventually it just became like I would pop up with Dutches because like I was young and like, you know, people didn't want to, I didn't want to bring the weed because they would tell me that I was getting trash weed and I was too young to know good from bad weed and shit, you know? So like, I was like, and my mama.
Yeah, we all were, yeah.
and New York, and also, you know, to be fair, New York had trash weed for a very long time, comparatively speaking to y'all in California, you know? But like the point being, you know, my mama raised me right? And so she made sure that I still knew better, that like, if I'm not bringing the bud, that I still know to bring something to participate in the cipher, and that was the Dutches. And so like comes from there, right? But like Lonnie Oceans and Dutch Vega have a similarity in naming of like, yo, this sounds like a real name. It sounds like a natural kind of like, it almost has like a cool air to it. You know what I mean? Like that's a smooth, like it sounds like Yo Papa was a Rolling Stone and Papa was a player and he really was out here like when you was born and shit, he was like, we gonna call him Lonnie Oceans. You know what I'm saying?
Lonnie is definitely an old nigga name, bro.
It is an old nigga name, but it's a fly old nigga name.
I don't know. I don't know about that. See, I would have to disagree. It sounds like if it was like something else, but the Oceans kind of has that hip feel, probably because of Frank Oceans and whatnot.
That makes it more of a, you're thinking that. I'm thinking Billy Ocean. So like, it gives it more of an older nigga air. But even then, like it's Billy, like we still talk about a smooth player right there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But like it just doesn't feel like old to me. It does, you know, it has this like.
It doesn't. It has a transcendent.
It feels like when one of those Gen Z kids almost like gets with an old man name kind of vibe.
You said, yeah, bro. So first of all, I actually just made it home. I'm gonna have me a little smoke.
Woo. Do it.
Littyyy.
We out
right.
here.
Right, and this is perfect because I like essentially we've been stretching this intro longer than we usually do because I wanted, you know what I mean, exactly this, you know, for you to be more at your peace and comfort before we get started with the line of questions. So, but that was mine, right? Like, where you from? Oh, wait, did you answer where your parents? Because that's
not
really
answer where his
right?
parents
like,
are from.
You did not answer where your parents are from. So, like, are you generational to the Bay Area? Like, were your parents born in the Bay Area as well, or did you guys, your family, migrate from somewhere?
Nah, so my blood family Pretty much like every other black person that lives in California. You know what I'm saying? Like, family originated from Texas and Louisiana. You know what I'm saying? Because of a great migration. But my mama's from Los Angeles. My biological father, I don't know where he's from, but my pops is from the South. He's from Alabama. You know what I'm saying? So, but he happened to be in LA when he met my mama, and then we moved up to the Bay Area. So my origin is not the Bay Area, but it's like part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. So I was born in Bellflower, California, which is outside of LA County. Like I said, grew up off of 92nd and Cimarron, which is about 5 minutes from Inglewood. For geography purposes, the old Western Forum where the Lakers used to play back in like the 80s and shit, lived like 5 minutes from there.
Oh, you mean where the show is based, right? Isn't that?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. We live like 5 minutes from there.
What's the name of the HBO? Let's give it a proper shout out. That show with you. It'll be up to you and me because Holden don't watch no. I mean, actually, you watch TV. You just
I just don't have access to HBO directly, but we find out what's coming on, and then we go to 123 Video or whatever.
2022, Holden. That's a fucking pitiful excuse.
Bro,
okay?
HBO's not in my country. We have Crave or whatever the fuck it's called.
Do not have that shit at all, and they're still watching.
I be watching shit.
Shows, okay. You don't watch that shit, okay?
I don't know what show it is.
Laker.
It's like winning. I haven't watched
Winning
the show
Time
at all yet, but Winning Time, yeah, it's Winning Time.
Winning Time.
But I probably would not watch a sports show.
Yo, you know what though? Actually, since we're here and we're talking about it, and I'm gonna take the 1 minute out real quick to shout the show and say to you, it's not really a sports show. It's more about the story. It's based around the story of all the people involved in that team back then, which is important because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was essentially one of the first actual, like, before Ali, I think, and before like a lot of the other athletes were like kind of like or I think it was contemporary with Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? Like he was contemporary with Ali, and like the Nation of Islam being brought to a major public stage via being the religion that these athletes all joined, whether it was Muhammad Ali or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And so like for me, I think the coolest thing about the show is watching the dichotomy of like the difference between the man that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is and was even back then, and the man that Magic Johnson is and was back then, and the difference between those two black men and their experiences in this country and how they went about their experiences in this country. And that's like what makes that show so great to me. But and then you throw in Jerry Buss and the way that he gained control of that franchise and turned it into the winning championship franchise that it is, into the mix of this storytelling, and it then becomes like a really fucking good show that even me, who is not like a Lakers fan at all in any way until LeBron joined them, will watch it and care deeply. Like I watch that show week by week, episode by episode, like old school TV shit. And it's because it was that good of a show, because it's very well written. And then the actors, who are, a lot of them are, this is not, I don't know if it's their first like role, it might be their first big roles, and they're all doing like really great jobs. And it's interesting because they are too hype. So like these are actors that like could play in the NBA if you judge them off of height, which is rare. Like actors are not usually 6'5", 6'8", 6'10" type of people. Rappers are usually like actors are usually like 5'8", 5'6", and then made to look like they're 6 foot, guys on camera. And so the point being, it's a really good show.
Magic was like 6'9" or something like that.
6'9". Fucking
Magic
hugest point guard for the like era and shit, or the time ever, until other point guards started getting bigger. But point being, it's a good show. You should watch it, Holden. You should watch some TV, my guy.
I watch TV.
No time for none of that shit.
I be watching TV.
He's reading books. Nah, it's all right. You read books.
I'm watching Blackish right now.
Okay, we finally got to Blackish. Well, exactly when the show is going off the air. You see what I'm saying here? You did not make any good cases for yourself with that, sir.
I've been watching
you just
TV.
Illustrated my point right now.
But like I be on Netflix and shit.
Blackish just got canceled, or just got.
But we on the Disney Plus, bro.
A couple months ago.
So we on the Disney Plus after the Netflix run, the Prime run out. We just be on those guys, and then if like we watch the new South Parks and shit when they drop. But like,
regardless, good show. And so you, your family was from that area, right around that fucking stadium.
Right.
Yes, sir, man. So my grandmama had a house off of there that she had for probably like 50-something years. I think she ended up selling it in 2004. But I grew up in that house. You know what I'm saying, with my mom, my grandmama, aunties, uncles, all that shit. Like they grew up in that house. I grew up in that house, so it was like a generational thing. And then, you know what I'm saying, we ended up just packing up, you know what I'm saying, coming to make the life out here, you know, so I had the best of both worlds. But I took the sports teams with me, as you know, I'm Lakers, Dodgers, Raiders. So they hate me out here, but hey, you feel me, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Now,
they'll be out here with a passion.
Yeah, I already know. Now I already know. It's like it's literally like New York City. You know what? Villain, who's also Mess Our Family, was just over here this weekend for like 5-6 days.
He's a Boston fan, ain't he?
He's from Boston, and so he always does this thing where like he comes here and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna upset the New Yorkers. Look, the Yankees suck." And I'm like, bro, you don't understand. Like, for us Yankee fans in this city, we're used to hearing that from our own fucking city. Like, there's the biggest Yankee haters are born in New York fucking City. So it's just like, bro, like, you're not moving me at all with that. Now, if I'm in Boston and I say, hey, the fucking Celtics can park their car at Harvard Yard and suck some balls, then I'm going to get the reaction that you're looking to elicit in New York City from us. But, like, us, we're used to that shit. Like, this city, like, everybody hates the Yankees. Most of the people in this city are Mets fans. And the OG, like, older people, like, who were into baseball, like, you know, and put down all of those young people with baseball, like, they're all, like, fucking, you know, Brooklyn Dodgers fans and New York Giants fans, and they leaked over and maybe became Mets fans, or they stayed Dodgers and Giants fans and moved with them to LA and the Bay, right? Like, and they just be like, fuck the Yankees regardless, because it's just like always been fuck the Yankees for many years to many people in New York City. So it's just like,
that's crazy for me to hear, knowing like the fanhood, especially with the success of the Yankees as well too. Like, knowing it's wild knowing that there's actual Mets fans out there as well too.
That's like growing up as playing baseball and growing up in like a baseball family that like that's the sport that every family, that's what they do. Parents do that, right? Like whatever the parents enjoyed playing is what they put in your hands. You know what I mean? Like if your parents played tennis, they're gonna put a fucking tennis racket in your hand. If your parents played fucking shuffleboard or fucking I forget what's the one where homie in the Olympics. My brother was telling me how much he loves that shit.
Oh, curling.
Curling's wild fun to watch though.
Where they be fucking brooming the fucking.
Yo, it's lit though.
Yo, that is the most non-sport sport I see out there, fam. Like,
I don't know,
in
man.
the Olympics, it's like, yo, look at these dudes. Like they're not even Like you just
gotta understand. There's like a
sliding.
whole ass art to the slide, bro. It's a real like goofy
The art of the
sport.
slide.
And then you got
I'm
the
not. This
sweepers,
is what I'm
bro.
saying.
They gotta make the ice
The
path
sweepers
proper.
is the thing that is super like, what is this guy doing? The first time I ever saw that shit, I'm like, what is going on here?
Bro,
anyway, the point being, right? Like whatever your family does, it's usually related.
So it's just like I'm
and so
putting on my Mets hat.
my family's a baseball family, and my family's all Mets fans. I grew up in a Mets family, and then in growing up in my era, right? Like I got to grow up in the 80s and the 90s, and so I became a Yankees fan in a Mets family when the Yankees were in their worst losing point ever in their history up until that point. I think that might still be their longest drought of no championship. Was their era. Like the Yankees have won a championship in every decade since their inception until the 80s. So like the Yankees won championships in the teens, like in the 1919s, in like the 19 teens, in the 1920s, in the 1930s. Yeah, like the Yankees were winning championships. The Yankees were winning championships every decade until the 80s came, and the 80s were dry for us. We went from like 79 to like 90, whatever it was, where we finally started winning championships again. And then in the 2010s,
not in the 2010s, there was no wins.
Yeah, exactly. Until now, it hadn't happened again for a whole decade. But even then, I still think that because we didn't win the championship until like 94, that we still have like a few more years to go in the 2020s before it matches the level of dryness that it was in that back in them days.
Because you guys won in 09. I think that was last time, like 2009.
That was the last time in 2009, right?
Yeah.
So it might reflect the same thing. Like 2009 might be the Reggie Jackson championship of 79 that caused the drought that we don't get a win until 2024. It's looking good this year though. But the point being, right, like, I'm used to it. So said in the comments, he's putting on his fucking Mets hat right now. Like, the city is mostly, like, I think that in New York, what it is really that people confuse everywhere is that Jay-Z is a winner and popularized the Yankee fitted from their era of winning in the 90s through the early 2000s, because that was his era, right? Like, as a New Yorker, being, like, trying to like brand himself as the best, the number one guy, the richest guy, he had to associate his brand with the Yankees, which at that time they gained the championship of being the most winning championship team in sports history.
I mean,
and he had to associate himself with that.
You guys were pretty good in almost every sport in that era too. You know what I'm saying? Like that was when I mean, you're talking like 94 when the Rangers won.
Yeah, I was going to say the Rangers definitely won.
Yeah. Yep.
And the Knicks were really good.
I think that the Giants, LT Lawrence Lawrence Taylor had like didn't he have a championship with the Giants at some point back in them days? I'm not sure. I might be wrong about that.
It was. I know. What's in it? Well, I don't know if New York counts Buffalo as New York, but Buffalo was really good then. That was when they went to like 4 Super Bowls and lost them all.
Word. Yeah, I think I remember that era.
But that's how I felt in the early 2000s when like the Lakers. You feel me? The Lakers was winning. The Dodgers were not winning, but the Angels won one. Even the WNBA teams were winning. Like, but yeah, like we city was going crazy back then, man. And then now it's kind of like that in the Bay. You feel me? Where like all the teams are like pretty good. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, nah. I was gonna say that like you're like you not being a fan of the Bay Area teams right now. It's just like they'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like that's how I always feel about popular things like white rappers. Like anytime there's a white rapper and he's already like, you know, like G-Eazy or fucking MGK or like Yellow Wolf, I'm like, they don't need me to be a fan of them. They'll be fine. They're white. They got the privilege of like the racist whites that only listen to white rappers. listening to all of those guys. You know what I mean? So like anytime
you know
there's
what's crazy too, like regarding G-Eazy, is that like because G-Eazy's from out
from
here,
the Bay, yeah,
and
yeah.
and what's crazy is like, so he had been popping since like shit, like since like 2011, but I didn't find out about who he was until 2016, when I was kicking it with some white girl and she played his music. You feel me? Or, no. It was even before that. He was in 2K or something like that at the times, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I heard this girl playing it, and she's like, yeah, he's from the Bay and this and that, right? So like, you'll hear a lot of people like on Bay Area pages talking about, oh, like nobody listens to G-Eazy, like the Bay don't fuck with him, but the Bay does fuck with him. It's just not the black Bay Area that fucks with him. You feel me? Like, because he'll really do a show. He'll do a show at Oracle and sell that shit out. He'll sell it out. Like he's done songs with the legends out here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, like I said, I didn't know about him until 5 years into his career. He didn't already had like hit records and shit I had never heard in my life, and like I had no clue about this dude. And then I find out later all his accolades and all the stuff he's done, and like the shows he sells out here. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, he is from the Bay Area, and at the end of the day, the Bay Area does support its song when somebody goes on. You feel me? Like,
yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of like admiration. I always say my two favorite cities, as far as like our culture and hip hop are concerned, outside of New York City, are Houston and the Bay. You know what I mean? Like I don't even I count the Bay. And then I look at the Bay almost like New York City. I think you've seen my like years ago online post talking about like comparing and trying to compare like boroughs to the cities of the Bay. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like which is really kind of how it works. Like once you visit New York, you'll see like these boroughs are essentially cities unto themselves. They're big enough to be cities. Like they're really big when you take into account the actual spacing of them. It's not like a county type thing.
It's the same thing out here because like for example, right? So like I live in Concord, which is like white suburbia out here, right? So like completely different than me driving 30 minutes going past the tunnel and I'm in Oakland, where it's murals everywhere. You know what I'm saying? It's the streets ain't paved. You know what I mean? Like it's a completely different world. Yeah. Like, and then even like, you know, you've been to San Francisco before.
I was gonna say the one time that I visited the Bay Area, I could sense it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I could sense the huge difference when we were going from, because I traveled there with the Brian McKnight tour, with Brian McKnight when I was like in like fresh out of high school, and like it was like a major city tour. So it's major cities, and then the theaters in the major city, right? Like that would be the popular, the most probably the Fillmore, I think, in the Bay, in Oakland, and then in San Francisco. I don't know. I forget what the name of the theaters were, but it was theaters every city. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so like I could see the difference and sense the difference from Oakland to San Francisco alone. You know what I mean?
It's a completely different vibe.
We did a lot of, because back then it was old industry standard. We would do pickups from the label in major cities. So like we travel with all the promo stuff, with the CDs and the T-shirts that we got from the label in New York City, and you travel through all those stops and all those cities, and then boom, you get to Chicago. And in Chicago, that promoter for the record label in Chicago then had another package for us from the label worth of boxes of like, so like every major city we had that. And so like Oakland was the major city that had like the major promoter that we had to, and he had us like when we would go to major cities, like it was like in Chicago, Oakland, Houston, New Orleans, Miami, the Atlanta, the promoters there would always take us out to the town when we were there. And like, and these were not like, we're not talking about like industry executives. We're talking about the guy, the DJ, that's the guy in the town that it gets that
motherfucker that grew
job.
up there.
Yeah, that grew up there, that knows the city, but
Yeah.
happens to have the benefit of working for a record label back then in like 2000, 2001, or 99, 2000. So like, I've been there and I've seen the difference. So I don't remember what towns he took us to, but I remember there being like vibes per area type shit that made things slightly different. That even back then when I was young, I'm still noticing like this is different then. You know what I mean? Like the most major one that I could sense was like the difference between San Francisco and Oakland back then. Like it was very different.
Yeah, bro. It's definitely like the that's what makes the Bay so dope, is that like it's so many different types of vibes and feelings that you get. You know what I'm saying? Like with each city in the area. I mean, shit. San Jose is like in the southernmost part of the Bay Area, and you know what I'm saying? That shit is completely different. It's a completely different air about it than Oakland or San Francisco or Vallejo. You know what I'm saying? Like even here,
isn't Vallejo next to San Jose or like
so
above it?
So San Jose is like if Oakland's right here, San Jose is down here, and Vallejo is actually up here. So Vallejo's more
Vallejo
north.
is the most northernmost point. Right. Fact.
Yeah. And even the cities and like within specific area codes all feel different, right? Because like right over the hill, 10 minutes over the hill is Pittsburgh. So I grew up in Pittsburgh as well too. I lived there for like 8 or 9 years. And within Pittsburgh, it's like that's like the closest like hood area, you feel me, to Concord. And then past that is Antioch, which is like half and half, right? Like it's like super hood and super like rich. You know what I'm saying? Like on two opposite ends of the shit. And then as it goes further, then it gets into like, you feel me, like the gated community cities and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like and what's crazy is like the area that I'm in is the area that people in Oakland like move to. Because like you've probably heard like from even like Lush talking about it, right? Like the whole like gentrifying of Oakland and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So everything in that area code, everybody like from Richmond, like Richmond, like Oakland, those areas, they had to move out where I'm at because we have much cheaper housing out here. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot of like, especially over the hill, it's like a bigger Black population and Hispanic population out here than it is like, you know what I'm saying, like west of me where I'm at. Like, so it's crazy. It's a melting pot, man. And it's crazy knowing that there's other states in the United States that are not like that. That's like
right.
But that's why I'm looking forward to finally seeing New York, because that's what I like. You feel me? I like to see different
the different vibes.
Yeah.
And there is, and you'll sense it. You'll see how it kind of does work in a similar way to the Bay, where there is, and that's why I always likened it to it.
Like I went to New York like now twice, but the first time me and a girlfriend walked up 3rd Avenue in Manhattan, starting all the way up in Harlem, and we went all the way down to like the bottom, not the full bottom, but like move through the different, you could just see like every 10, 15
Midtown.
Blocks, like,
or
no, it was like
downtown.
9th or something, like it was like way.
Yeah, you went all the way down to 9th, so that's downtown.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like you could just see, like, just on that walk, it was several hours, it felt like you passed through something like 7 different cultures in a sense, just walking up one street in Manhattan. It was fucking wild.
Yeah.
And like Montreal kind of divided like that too, but maybe Yeah, no, there's a lot of different neighborhoods. Like, there's parts of Montreal I've just never been to, and they're just like the city kind of got zoned up, and then there's parts in the middle where everything mixes. But like if you go out to the more east you go, it just doesn't look like or feel like the same part where I'm at. Like I started exploring the city more, and it's kind of nice. But yeah.
See, that's what I'm looking forward to getting a chance to see, because the way that the way that Flacko, I was gonna say Dutch, the way that Flacko describes New York reminds me a lot of out here, and you know what I'm saying, like, and even just like, you know, I see things in the media because that's the only way I can see New York, you know, whether it be movies, games, whatever, like, and you just see like the careful detail in the shots and everything of like all of New York and the aesthetic that New York has. You know what I'm saying? The reputation that New York has is just like, it's super dope to me. You know what I'm saying? And it does remind me of like here, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's what I always like, and that's why I think that that's the thing that I like the most about the Bay, is that like it has like, because it right, like that's where the competition with LA comes from, right? Is that it's the second, right? Because like LA is so huge globally to the people, right? And it's what people think of. I know California well enough to know how many people I know that aren't from California that show up to California in Los Angeles and then call their friends that are in the Bay Area and are like, yo, I'm in Cali, bro. Come out, yo. And it's like, motherfucker, I can't just pull up. The Bay is wild far from LA.
It was shocking
and
to
like
find that out.
that are not,
Shocking.
People that are not from
It's a shocking discovery.
Cali just don't ever understand.
I don't understand that shit.
It's just like,
bro, I don't even
like,
realize
like,
how big California is until you like really, because like it's part of the map where they squish shit, so you don't get like the good
much the whole
perspective,
coast,
right?
So
like
it's literally like it's literally like being in Atlanta and calling a New Yorker like, yo, I'm on the East Coast, bro. Like, yo, you're wild hours away, fam. Like, this is not a hop, skip, and a jump away. You know, like this is a very far distance
between
that I have
between Oregon and Mexico. You know what I'm saying? We're between Oregon and Mexico, so it's a large state. It would take me like 6 hours to leave California, going north.
Okay, I get the feel of that. That's big.
And then and then even like when you're in LA, right? Because like LA is Southern California, like it's still, to get to Mexico is like 5 hours from there. It's like a 5 hour
I remember it being like, nah, we couldn't, like when we were on tour, they talked about us like, hey, we're in LA, we could just go ahead and go down to Mexico real quick, and then it was still like, nah, but it's still like a 5 hour drive. And it was like, we do not have the time to just stop by Mexico real quick, guys.
Yeah,
like,
in my head, it's like right across, like, honestly, because of movies or whatever, I just picture like Mexico being like a 25-minute drive. I'm like, maybe it's just because like
like, nah,
like
man.
you can do
the shit that Mexicans go through to get into this country is, and it's not just Mexicans, correction, the shit Latin Americans in other countries go through to get into this country is like daunting and like crazy. And like, even once you're across the border, it's still like you're not out the woods yet. Like, you still gotta fucking travel a hefty distance to get to like
wild. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Right. It's it's funny telling people from out of state that, because people will ask me, you know, and know that I live in the Bay Area. And it's like, how far, like, I'm gonna be out here on Saturday. How far from LA are you? And I'm like a 5.5 hour car drive from there. You know what I mean? Like, everybody thinks that they're like an hour or something apart, and it's like, nah, like.
Yeah, I feel like TV makes it all sound like it's next to each other.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, TV does. TV does
it's just like how I feel like
illusions.
It's like, and they just list places.
Like I always look at like the 5 boroughs as like I don't know how large it is or like how long it would take you to go around all 5 boroughs and shit. But I always thought that the shit was like it. To me, it feels like small. Like it feels like someone's like, oh, like
like right next door, like it's right there,
Yeah.
and it's super not like what from like one end on the train, which will like cut through traffic, right? Like you to get from the northernmost point of the Bronx, which is the northest most borough, to get to the southernmost point of Brooklyn from uh where Slick Rick is from to go to where the Warriors are from, which is Coney Island, is like we're talking about like 5 hours by train, 4 hours by train, for like depending on like even the train might like end up going through train traffic at that point. You know what I mean? Like because it's like literally the longest distances and shit. And that is like cutting through traffic and shit. Like once you do it through traffic, it's probably like the same amount of time, but it's like it's a lot, yo. Like it's not easy. Like even me, who's at the southernmost point of the Bronx, I'm still like a solid 2.5 to 3 hours away from Coney Island. Like it's just super far, you know? Like it's not right there. Yeah,
bro, like it seems like such a different world over there. I just remember like this time, I think it was in person, we were talking and we were talking about like you know what, like I guess what the city was like when we were kids, right? And you were telling me how like at a certain age every kid gets like a Metro card, right? Or like a subway card.
Yep.
Or something like that. And that's like super foreign to me, right? Because like we have a train system out here, but it's really like it's really kind of like a linear train station. It'll go here, it'll go here, it'll go to like these 8 stops in Oakland or these like 12 stops in San Francisco, you know what I'm saying? And then that's about it.
Right.
You know, we don't do like people depend on it, but not like how New York can just go,
Yeah.
you know, up the block in.
Yeah, New York is a totally different animal than that's one thing that we have that's totally different than the entire country is that like New Yorkers sometimes are born, live, and die in this city and never learn how to drive a vehicle because the train system is that thorough and can get you everywhere.
So you're saying
without,
like the Bay Area be that
like,
big and a shit public transit? Because that's wild to me. I'd be more on that bus card vibe where like it's the same thing. It's part of our school system even where like you got an ID for it and everything. So it's like public transit,
nah,
you know,
bro,
like you learn to drive because like
it's spread out.
as a
it's more
status
spread
symbol
out over there than it is out here.
And but
that's
like
why I was
that's
apprehensive
wild.
about like.
So it's, you got to drive to survive.
Right. Outside of New York City, you have to drive to survive, period.
And that's like the whole country.
It doesn't matter where you go. That's like the whole country. Like you go to Atlanta, it's the same situation. You go to Chicago, and they might have the most similar to us train system. Like it has an L. There's a lot of Chicago movies that people sometimes mistake for New York because they have the elevated train and it looks like New York. And it has like a lot of similarities with New York, and like the way that they even carry themselves is like very New York. So it's like you could easily confuse Chicago for New York. But they even then their train system is not like you know, we don't need a vehicle at all out here. Like nah,
so it's like,
you still need a vehicle.
So
like there's still parts of the general major outside of Chicago, out of Chicago cities that are part of essentially the Chicago area that like you require a vehicle to get to. You know, the suburbs, they don't have no elevated train that gets out to them out there, you know? And a majority of the cities in the country are like that, where it's just like
so
they
does
don't
that
have
mean like everybody be like
train system
so
like
is
that.
everybody like copping licenses at 16 and I don't know what the age is whenever y'all can get licenses? Is that how it be working?
I mean, Joe Lonnie could speak to that better than
people like 16, like 15, 16.
But is that
when was it for you that you got your like permit?
I didn't get mine so I didn't get my my driver's license until I was 23. That was when I finally got mine. And then what's the name? But like we don't get you know, like we have bus systems in every single like city, but I mean, there's nothing like, you feel me? You're gonna be waiting for everything.
So
You know,
like,
if you don't
Yeah,
have the
and New
car.
so
York
how do
doesn't
you get
operate
it?
in
So
that
how do you
way.
get around then? Like as a young person, you're like getting into the world and shit. Are you just like bound to your like neighborhood unless you get a lift from a homie or something?
Nah, so the way I used to get around before I got a car was like, you feel me? And this is assuming like, you know, because like I had friends that drove also, you
Right.
know. Um, so I
That's
would
what I
drive.
figure is the actual thing. Is like to me, I'm sorry to cut you off real quick, but like this is actually fascinating as well because like when I watch all those like coming of age movies, white movies, right, in high school, and they have this whole like pulling up to the school, like kids driving themselves in high school. To me, that's like
Yeah, it's wild. That never
mind blowing.
happened.
In New
Ain't
York
nobody
City,
needing a
that does
car
not
at fucking
happen. Like
like maybe
nobody's
the
driving to
rich kids in
school.
the more suburby
And when
parts.
and I had the privilege of like in high school having the culture shock of like in 96 moving from New York City public high school and New York City living my whole life to living in Honolulu, Hawaii. And it kind of was that movie vibe of like it's a campus for your school high school and like kids are driving themselves to school and I was just like, what? This is crazy, yo. Like, yo, these motherfuckers got cars in fucking high school and shit. And in New York City, it's not like that. Like, nobody has a car in high
Yeah.
school like that for the most part, like ever.
Well, bro, it weirded me out because I remember you told me that like you and somebody else told me that there's no parking lots. You feel me? Like around schools, like you just drop the kid off or
Yeah,
whatever, and
that's
then
that's
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
life I know, bro.
that's so weird to me. Every school out here has a parking lot, has somewhere you can park a car.
Bro, we
Right.
had like specialized city buses that would be dedicated to pick people up at the schools. So like it would be like the regular bus
Yeah.
line, but this one bus at this one
Oh,
time would like stop at your school and it would be like the main bus and everybody took the city bus or like parents would pick you up or whatnot, but man, too expensive to
yeah.
have a
Very,
car in the
very,
city like
very
that.
rarely, very rarely was there like anybody in high school. It was like always like, oh, he's about to drop out. Like he dealing with all the drugs. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
he got all the money. Like what? He's got a car in high school? Shit.
yeah.
But you know
I
what?
have friends.
That's also like where you grow up because if I grew up in Queens in some of the more prestigious neighborhoods, Queens is like that. Queens, like they're
But
getting
even
their
just like
licenses in high school, and they do have high schools in Queens that have that where like you drive to school for the most part
but
or
also
get
like
dropped
just
off,
even like
and
the
like
houses
it,
thing, right? Like y'all grow up in houses down there. I mean, I spent my entire life in an apartment. I've never lived in a house one time because like I mean, yeah, there's houses in Montreal, but like, you know, depending on where you're at, most people are probably in an apartment or a condo or something like that. And like so like when you're in an apartment now, having a car is an extra fee if you want parking indoors and like so it's just like why would you know it's like it's a lot more to have a car at that point when you are, you know, I don't know about New York on that front, but like I'm just saying like I feel like there's like this whole thing where car comes with house comes with all these things and then if you apartmenting it's like you're just less likely to end up with you just learn to move around it in different ways. And that whole like house thing is wild that everybody has houses down by you.
yeah, no, I
like
mean,
like actual neighborhoods with
Because like everything's buildings here, even if they're not all tall, they're not New York. Everything's buildings are your condos, triplexes, everything. It's not like people have houses.
yeah,
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 yeah.
with a front
Now
lawn.
Montreal, Philly, Toronto, Chicago, Boston. These are cities that all are not too far from New York City in distance and actually in the structure of the way that the cities actually look. Like there's a lot of similarities. That's why like Jackie Chan's Rumble in the Bronx was filmed in Toronto. And a lot of times when you can't film in New
Didn't know
York
that.
City, Yeah, a lot of times when you want to film in New York City and you can't afford to film in New York City, especially in the 80s and 90s before there was the advent of the internet like that, they would shoot a lot of movies in like American-made movies being shot
Yeah,
in
they shoot a
Toronto
lot of shit in
because
Montreal, like to this day.
and other places, yeah. But I think that the place that the industry kind of looked at as like the closest to New York City in look and feel was Toronto, as far as like where they could also shoot and was cheap to shoot, shit like that. But the point is, all those cities still they reflect. Like I've been to Montreal, I've been to Toronto, been to Chicago, been to Boston, been to Philly. Like these are all cities that absolutely, like I can tell you as a New Yorker that like I've been there and been like, ooh, this is very New York like. You know what I mean? Like this made like this one thing, this like the overall city is not like New York City, but this one thing that the city has is very New York like. In Montreal, I remember in old Montreal, that reminds me of like Wall Street area of New York City, where it's like cobblestone roads and like has this very old, which kind of like reminds me of like in San Francisco, like that area, like they've got little areas that like there'll be cobblestone, or there were cobblestone roads. I don't know. I haven't been so long, so I don't know if they're still there. But like, you know, it's these major cities that be having these like. Once they started building major cities in America, they had like an idea of what they wanted to kind of stick to, you know. And I think it's just that the Bay Area is different than any other major city because it's an area and not just one city. It's a cluster of cities. And those cluster of cities then make up kind of like a same type of vibe as New York City, because New York City also encapsulates so many different cities within itself, because the boroughs are essentially cities. Each borough is its own city, and then within the city, each borough has its own little towns that have different vibes to them, and that's what makes up the overall culture of like the whole city, similar to the Bay Area, which makes up the culture of like the whole area, and that's what it's looked at as, like, you know.
And see that those are things that like I would piece together listening to songs, you feel me, and hearing different like me being in like, you feel me, like 11th grade and hearing Jamaica Queens on 50 Cent's album, and I was like, but I thought it was only Queens. You know what I'm saying?
Right?
Like,
or you thought it was Queens Bridge, right? Like a lot of people end up having, because there were so many popular rappers that came out of Queens Bridge Project.
No, I feel
Nas
like what you say.
Mobb Deep,
No, I feel that shit though.
Mobb Deep. And the thing that kind of like said for a long time there in Queens was like Queens Bridge, you know. And so people sometimes think that like, oh yeah, Queensbridge, right?
Well, it's
like,
more like the idea of sub neighborhoods.
Queens, and
like
then you get to Queens, and all of it is that neighborhood that Nas and them are talking about, right? And it's just like, nah, like they're all wild pockets. Like there's Jamaica, there's fucking Queensbridge, because when Queensbridge really refers to is still shortening, it's still cutting off the projects, because that's what Nas is from. That's where Havoc. That's where a lot of that Juice Crew shit was from before in the 80s. Coogee rapping them, and it's all of them were from Queensbridge projects, or a majority of them. And so it's right by the Queens Bridge that leads you into Queens from Manhattan. But it's also the biggest projects in New York City. Like when you get there and you look at Queensbridge projects, after you've like lived in any other projects in New York City, even in the Bronx and Brooklyn where we have really big projects, like you go to Queensbridge projects and you're like, what the fuck? This is like Co-op City, or like it's just these areas that like are like, whoa, there's a lot of buildings. Like the projects here, like this is a lot. Like it makes Marcy projects look small. It makes any other projects that you could think of from New York City look small compared when you go to Queensbridge projects. but they're not like, it's this one little cluster right as soon as you get off the bridge, that big ass neighborhood of Queensbridge projects. But and then Queens has all these other neighborhoods that Tribe Called Quest is from, that LL Cool J is from, that Run DMC is from, that are nowhere near Queensbridge, you know. And then you have 50, who's all the way at the other end of Queens, with Jamaica. Jamaica's like near the end of Queens, right before Long Island. And then you have like where Max B and Stack Bundles and Chinks Drugs are from, which is I just disrespected these motherfuckers. All right, let's move on from New York City. Joe, let's let Holden get into his first question.
How long are we in this? How long are we fucking in this? I'm like, man.
Nah, I mean, you know what though? Because it's still important. We still have to build on Lonnie's childhood. And, like, I'm curious to know.
Hour 26.
Right? Like, you know, like, I'm curious to know what the life was like growing up.
Right,
so, like,
get
to it, Holden. Let's run it.
Yeah, bro.
So yeah, basically I got opening questions, a bit of a lengthy question, and then when it lands, we'll run it. So basically I was watching my girlfriend one day. She was washing the dishes, and she had her phone out, and she's playing that Black Eyed Peas song, I got a feeling. Ooh. She's vibing, she's dancing, she's doing her thing, and I'm thinking to myself, yo, when in the fuck did this song become chores music, right? Because if you think about this track and you run it back to like 2010 and shit, this is that middle of the night jump around, everybody celebrating, woo, we all faded type things. Even the kids was on that shit. Everybody loved that song. Then we run it like 10 years, 11 years in the future. We all grew up. The song didn't change at all because it's a song, but we evolved so much that our relationship with the song changed so much that now it's our chores music. It's that shit we put on when we bored and we wish we was kind of back in those celebratory moments when we doing our whatevers. That got me thinking about just the journey that we as musicians and such go on with music and the relationships we all have in it. Like, think about them 20-year-olds running around with the drills and shit. They have no idea that that's the future dishwashing music or the future adulting and shit. They don't know that when I heard Pop Smoke, it jumped straight to the dishes washing because, like, I'm already at that place in life, and that's just how it be. And I got thinking about, like, in the past, how, like, you know, like when you watch interviews and you see how people kind of talk about their stories, how, like, you know, everybody seems to start at the age of like 11 or 12. Yo, I first fell in love with hip-hop at this age, or I started writing raps when I was 11, and basically puberty, identity, we started attaching ourselves to it. But it made me realize that as far as the music portion of this goes, the story starts like way back when you were in whatever place it was when you were born. There was probably in the hospital or whatever some music playing, and a little baby Lonnie absorbing that, and you may not remember it, but you know, that's just how it is. And as time goes on, you know, like I can remember being 5, being in the apartment in Montreal. My dad's got these gray boxes all over, like the preamp and the amp and the radio and the tape deck, all the wires going with the little ghetto home surround sound system. He'd be busting his little Led Zeppelin tapes and things of that nature in the daytime, or Krista Bergs and shit, and at nighttime it would be like the club music straight from the clubs of Montreal and stuff like that, mixed with the pop and whatnot. My mom's, it was more disco, and it was love songs and Disney and all of that kind of vibes coming around, and all this shit surrounded me back when I had no control at all over what I was listening to. It was just the stuff that was forced upon me by the units of control of my life. So I was hoping, Mr. Lonnie Oceans, you could bring us back to the youngest Lonnie Oceans you can remember being, and telling us a little bit about what it sounded like to be you before you had any control. And keep in mind that most of us did not grow up in LA or the Bay Area or any of these areas, so we don't know what it sounded like that. We don't know what you mean is another way to put it.
So I think definitely the region has to do with it, but you know, of course, like the period in time is like the most important aspect of it, because like you said, like there's certain songs now that are super nostalgic, even from just 15 years ago, you know, 10-15 years ago. But as far as like the youngest me, a lot of music that I grew up around was like gospel, because my pops still to this day plays gospel everything. My mom is like who really shaped my other tastes, and like the music that she grew up with in her era, with Stevie Wonder and Marvin, you know what I'm saying, and Roy Ayers, and like all of all of those acts that she grew up on, and those are acts that I came to appreciate, so between that, a lot of the hip hop I had to sneak because my folks wasn't trying to have me listen to it, but I had to sneak a lot of it. But it would just be things, you know what I'm saying, that like things that you would just hear, like just living life, you know what I'm saying?
What are some of the like records that you remember? Because I've started pinpointing that lately. Like to me, I remember always hearing Lisa Stanfield. Ah, yeah, yeah. I can't find my baby. I don't know when. I don't know why. Like that's one of the records that like I remember my parents playing loud when it would come on the radio. You know what I mean?
Well, so I got one for you. So I was like 7, I think. I think it was like 7 when Space Jam came out, the original Space Jam. And
good times.
For my birthday, I got the soundtrack. I got the cassette on soundtrack. I still got it to this day. And I loved almost every song on that whole cassette. Like I wore that thing out. But I remember there's a D'Angelo song on there called I Found My Smile Again. Incredible song. And that was like my introduction into D'Angelo, because I was like became like a really big fan of his growing up as well too. But like that was like the first thing I really listened to that had like various sounds on it. You had some kind of like, you had Seal on the soundtrack, and you had Monica, and you had Coolio,
Right.
and you had, you feel me, LL Cool J and Busta
Then
Rhymes.
you had Bugs Bunny rapping, or
Bugs Bunny rapping. You got
Jay-Z
Jay-Z and R. Kelly had a song in there.
Jay-Z ghostwriting
Jay-Z
Bugs
ghostwriting
Bunny's
Bugs.
bars for the actor, the voice actor that like did Bugs'
and then
voice,
being on the soundtrack too.
and then being on the soundtrack, parlaying himself onto the soundtrack, because that's the big boy move that he made.
Man, like I still remember all of that, and that was like, I think that's what like early shaped like my interest in just like various because I didn't grow up just primarily listening to hip hop. Like I listened to almost everything. You know everything. What I'm saying? Like there's mad like pop records. You feel me? Like that was like crazy in the '90s, or like rock records and things that that I love listening to as well. And I didn't really develop like my more like as far as like more genres or like the stuff that came behind me until like I was probably like 18, and I think that was also being in the kind of rebellious phase musically. You know what I'm saying? The I don't like the radio, so let me see what go back, that type of shit, right? And
that usually happens anywhere between 13 to 20 something, right? Like that. It's like a whole phase. For boys especially, kind of lasts that long.
Actually, let me take that, and then I'm gonna go to Mr. Holden's point, because he made a point earlier that that resonated, right? And so I remember when T-Pain was first coming out, and no, like T-Pain had already pretty much taken off, right? He was on everything, and this was around like 18, 19 for me, so this is when I'm really going out. I'm going to the 18 and up club, you know what I'm saying? Or like driving around like with friends and shit, just doing whatever. And I didn't like T-Pain's music at the time. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. And but it was catchy. It's like I knew all the songs and everything, right?
You couldn't avoid it. They were everywhere.
It's etched in my head, right? So like anytime it comes on, like you feel me? But I didn't like it, and it's not until like it wasn't until like maybe like a year or two ago where I was having a conversation with a friend, and it hit me that like, damn, I miss those days. And like every time I think back to like when I was first going out to the clubs and when I was first going to house parties and all this other stuff, like his music is what comes to mind immediately. And I was like, damn, that was a soundtrack for a moment.
Vibe. I get that. I did not like it back then, but now it's on my girlfriend's playlist because it's that whole era, right? And
bro, I heard this shit on the radio when I was driving.
Yeah, a lot of hits too.
Crazy hits, and
they
they were playing like a flashback hour, right? Like a throwback hour, and then what's the name? The Bartender song came on, and I'm like singing along with it, right? Because like I feel like I'm in that space.
That shit is one of the biggest. Like that one, I'm in love with a stripper. These are like, we're talking about like huge records that they transcend them shits. I'm pretty sure you start singing fucking I'm in love with a stripper in fucking Germantown, Germany, and them motherfuckers are gonna start singing that bitch with you. You go to fucking Cape Town, South Africa, they gonna start singing that shit along with you. You go to fucking Bangladesh, go to fucking South Korea, Seoul, like everywhere you go, these are records that like these are our modern day, the way that we look at, you know, those records that you like, those artists that you were talking about, like Roy Ayers' biggest hits, and mixed with Stevie Wonder's biggest hits. Like he's almost like essentially the Stevie Wonder, or you know, the Roger Troutman of our era.
You could not like you couldn't go anywhere back then with at least 5 T-Pain songs coming up.
Absolutely.
It was either him or Akon, and at that
him and
time,
Akon, facts.
And Lil Wayne.
I was gonna add a Lil Wayne in because I'm like and the Lil Wayne Drake combo, and that came.
And of course, Jay-Z somewhere lingering in the background, just doing Jay-Z shit.
Like picking and choosing.
Once he came out, it's like he never stopped being relevant. So it's like every 3 to 4 years, depending on what, you know what I mean? He's moving like.
There's at least a Jay-Z hit for every decade specific party. Like there's a Jay-Z hit for pretty much all the vibes.
And then and then beyond the hit, there's still those others that it's like it's not a hit like those Bartenders and those other super major smashes, but for some reason they're like the local, the one that everybody in your town ran to. You know what I mean? Or I
feel like You Don't Know is one of those songs.
You Don't Know is one of those songs. PSA is one of those songs, right? Yeah. Like, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Holden. It's like, hey, who's not gonna chill with that? Or even if you hit, but like at that point, 99 Problems is one of his biggest hits.
Yeah, 99
You know what I mean? So like most
huge.
people will know, like that'll kind of like everybody will know that, but it's like
that's like that might not I put that on the my mom would probably identify that song.
Probably a white party that plays like 99 Problems. That's when they're like, hey,
absolutely white parties play that shit. 100.
Yeah.
Or Dirt Off Your Shoulder was the other big one, because then you could be like, who does not want to do that shit?
I mean, it's weird. It's weird for Holden. He's had a weird career where like he does not have these like he was not Drake. You know, he did not have those like. Let's stop. Let's get back to you, Lonnie. Now we're talking about Jay too much. This is crazy.
It's all right.
I'm more curious about your childhood,
man. So Lonnie, let me ask you something then. When you was before the 18 and your rebellious things, did you have interest in creating music? Were you like, what kind of hobbies and stuff partook a younger version of you?
So before I ever wanted to like take or like ever wanted to participate in music, like I used to draw. Like I wanted to do cartoons. You feel me? I wanted to draw comic books. So like you know, I drew a lot as a kid. I would draw comics of like me and my friends. It should like, you feel me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I sketched I don't do it as much anymore, but I take a lot of creative energy from that in like other areas of things that I currently do. But yeah, that was like my biggest hobby. Like I love drawing. It was like the most therapeutic thing for me, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, music didn't come until you know what I'm saying, it's probably till I was like 15, 16, you know, and then uh being in high school, right, and just writing rhymes, but not being thinking I was serious about it, but I'm not, you know, you're not being serious, you're just trying to figure out what's going on, you know. And yeah, and then it wasn't until it was like 18 when I decided to start no, I'm tripping. I was 21 when I decided to start making beats. And then, you know, from then on, then like that became, you know, my life pretty much.
So it was like you were doing comic books, and then you were pursuing that, and then what made you shift into like, I'm gonna start writing rhymes?
It was, so I went on like a field trip. I think my folks took me on this little field trip when I was like 17 to an art institute in San Francisco. And I remember walking through it and hating it. Like it didn't seem like an environment I would thrive in, or like, you know what I'm saying, that I would ever want to be in personally. And
That's
I
actually
was
funny.
already I was kind of dibble dabbling in rhyming and shit anyways. You know what I'm saying? But I think by then I was like, you know what? I think I would rather put my energy into writing than being like around all these kind of people, you know. So yeah, it was like 17 when I decided
And were you
to
like,
take it serious.
at that point making songs, showing people, performing it all?
No. I was still like really figuring out how to rap, you know, at that time. And like, you know, I had a couple of friends I would do it with, but not a lot of people, um, not a lot of people like around me rapped. And the people that did were like completely different than me. You know what I'm saying? To where like there was no real synergy with it. I was heavily like influenced by underground hip hop when I was in high school, as a lot of kids were, you know, and from my era. And so I felt like I was trying, you know, I think I was trying to like form my style out of that, you know,
Was it like the
or
local or underground hip hop, or just the more popular stuff? Cause like, wasn't like
both.
Del the Funky Homo Sapien and all them hieroglyphics cats out by you?
Hmm. Yeah, they grew up in
I was
Oakland.
gonna say that. I was gonna
From
say that
Berkeley.
it's exactly that's so that would I would assume that that's like the same thing with New York City, where like because we had so much, right, like Talib Kweli, Mos Def, and Raucous Records, and if not before then, like depending on what we consider underground, right? But like
Hmm.
there's all this stuff that comes out of the city in the underground of the
Yeah.
city that it helps kind of influence the way the path to the sound of that.
Right.
But back then, I think back then, even out there, it was always kind of like everybody was different. Like you know, like all
Yeah.
the underground acts were very different from each other.
It
So
was a
like
lot more diverse back then, definitely, than it is now. It was a lot more. Well, no. I can't say that, but like because it's still, the bass still like incredibly diverse,
yeah,
like Scotland. More so, I think of like the platforms that are like popular out here that showcase like, you know, one type of thing. Um, but no, and it's always been diverse. Like um, and especially like back then, you know, like I remember my homie Kyle gave me he gave me a copy, or he like burned a copy of what's the name, Third Eye Vision by Hieroglyphics. and being like, yo, you got to listen to them, right? And and then me being a fan of them, and then finding out about Souls of Mischief, and then from there, like
Oh
Dell,
man, that's
and like
cool.
all this other shit. Yeah, and then like Living Legends and Grouch and Eli, and like and then you like it kind of expands out because like a lot of these guys know people out of state as well too. So that's how I learned about what I'm saying, just like different groups. Like, God, I used to listen to fucking this is on top of like the mainstream stuff that I was listening to. But like I used to listen to like fucking Jedi Mind Tricks, right? Or like oh my God, I can't think of this guy's name, but it's like super nerd rap, and like shit like that, right? And so it was just like a lot of things that I learned, or that I kind of branched out listening to because I listened to that Hieroglyphics record.
Word. Because they were on the national stage, even though they were underground.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's actually how part of my music taste grew as well too, right? Like not even just in underground hip hop, but just like in different genres, right? Around that time when I'm in high school, and really getting to really getting to learn like where samples come from, you know what I'm saying, and certain like old songs that were being used like at that point in time, so yeah, those are things that shaped it. Really though, like my music taste definitely changed and broadened when I was going outside more, as an adult, in my
as it usually works out,
yeah.
like when you're a kid, you're like, this is it, this is the world. And then you're like, you get a little older and you start traveling, and you're like, oh, there's a big world outside of my neighborhood and what I think and what I know. Like, oh, look, what do you know? I like other
Exactly,
things.
right? Like, and then just getting to your mid-20s and then having experiences, like having like experiences of your own with this music, right?
So yeah, before your mid-20s, what made you go, I'm gonna start making beats? Because that's a whole other pivot you said you made from the rhyming thing. So you're rhyming, you're doing your thing, and then all of a sudden now you're making beats.
I was gonna ask what you made beats on first, like that you were able to make beats.
So all right, so back in the days, the reason why I started making beats was because back in the days I would go on people's MySpace pages, like producers pages, and I would like screen record or like fucking take the beat or whatever, like record the beat playing and then, and then rap over it and shit, right? And I was like, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. And I was like, like, yeah, I was like, it's not cool. Like, and I was like, I want to make the type of beats that I want to listen to, or that I would write to, or whatever. And my boy had a cracked version of FL Studio like 7 or something like that.
Hey,
and
that was the Fruity Loop 7.
That's
what I wanted to get to. What was the hardware? What was the software? What was the with producers? It's always 7,
all the way up until now. I use 20. Like when I went legit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like I started paying for that shit.
Wait, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like
I was just telling my boy, right? I was just telling my boy. It felt like I was like, everybody that's ever used FL Studio, I feel like had like a cracked copy, but it feels so good when you actually put the money down and like go legit, and you can get the updates. You don't feel like
something. It says something. It says something about you, right? Like yo, I've dedicated myself long enough. And honestly, like I feel like the people that like leave Fruity Loops and then start paying for some other thing, it's just like, yo, where's the loyalty? Like, where's the loyalty? Like, you owe Fruity Loops money, bro. Like,
I can't use anything else. Like, I can't. I've tried, but
it's not even that expensive
and I
these
realize
days.
There's nothing wrong with it. It ain't nothing wrong with it. You feel me? It's all like other people's perceptions about the shit. But like, if the shit works for you, use it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. No, as far as the loyalty thing goes, I would say though, maybe like because Fruity Loops has got a very particular interface, and pretty much everything else looks different.
Yeah, like the only thing that's kind of similar is I've seen, I think Logic. It's like kind of similar, like but yeah, bro. There's no need for me to learn another one. You know what I'm saying? If this works for me, then
Yeah, exactly.
Plus,
That's
I
it.
heard you
but
could
It's the
make.
same thing
knowing
as
two
like,
is like being fluent in two languages. You know, so
yeah, it's like back in the days in the old school when DJs were producers, or like producers swore by like the MPC, or there were certain producers that swore by the fucking SP 1200s before
mhm.
that, like with the looping, and it's just whatever you, and they take that into nowadays, some of those older producers, and they're like, yo, that dirty sound is like the best sound ever that I get out of the MPC. And it's like, good, that's good for you. You know what I'm saying? But there's like people that make beats on on like Fruity Loops. There's people that make
Yo, there's
beats
people that
on
make
all
beats on
sorts of things.
iPads with some weird
Casios,
ass cheap apps.
iPads, weird. Yeah, I've seen. I
Yeah,
was
Madlib
privileged
did
enough.
that.
Yeah, I was privileged enough to see people make beats on fucking PlayStation generator, a beat generator, modulator,
No, the
something fucking
MTV dinner. Hey, I had that.
the MTV generator thing.
I
Yeah. And that shit, like, I knew people that made magic out of that shit that I'm like, still were bangers in my head, like back then, like now when I think about it. I'm like, yo, those were bangers that he made on fucking MTV, on fucking PlayStation 1,
I
the
mean,
first fucking
like most of
incarnation.
these
Like,
things, even like that
so,
EJ shit, right? Like it was pretty generic and had everybody use it. It would sound the same, but the tools they gave you to modulate sounds really let you fucking take the sounds and go fucking ham in your own direction with them if you took the time to it. Even like the shittiest ones
yeah.
back then. So I don't know. I fucked around a little bit with it, but it's definitely
Wild
not
props.
not my like cup of
Wild,
strength. But
wild
I will
props to
say
Fruity
also
Loops.
though that you know, absolutely, but actually bigger props to YouTube, because at that time, this is like 2008. Um, that's how I learned to use the program, was YouTube tutorials in 2008, and like it's crazy to think they had that shit in 2008, because it's like
YouTube
commonplace now. You
University.
feel me? But like,
Mm-hmm.
you University YouTube, bro, like
it's the most valuable shit ever.
so. Man, I was so lucky because I didn't know how I was going to learn all that. But thanks to that, I got down the concept of creating or composing a song within about 2 weeks.
Wow.
You know, and, from there, like, you know, it just grew. And then now I'm still trying to find ways to like become better, like trying to learn how to play chords and you know, like natural chords, and like have like more progressive type stuff in it, you know. But like I learn everything. Now I soak up a lot of game from like the homies, because they, you know, a lot of my friends that are producers have FL Studios, so like I get a lot of game from them, you know. But I look shit up too. Like, you know, I click on my phone real quick if I don't know something, and then you know what I'm saying, and it'll learn real quick. But yeah, bro, like in 2008, I started doing all of that. And then that's like, I still rapped and shit, but like it came a time where I was really just interested in making beats. I felt like I wanted to hear other people rap on my production. You know what I'm saying? Like just the whole process of putting a song together was just like really, really dope to me. And it just like, it was a really calming thing, you know. It's like cooking almost, you
Yeah.
know. And so I don't know, I've always been like, do I want to produce, do I want to rap? I don't know if I want to do both, or if I have the time to do both, you know. And so for a long time I really just kind of call myself a producer, and occasionally I rap on somebody's shit, you know. And I mean, shit, that was as recent as like up to 2 years ago, you know. And
I've been there for the full journey. Oh
yeah,
well, not the full
sure.
journey, but like I've definitely been there for a long part of this journey now. You know, so like,
I mean, shit, bro. You used to make fun of me on the whole, like, you know, like, all right, guys, I got a project coming out, type shit, and you know, and then like none ever comes of it, like that whole thing. And thankfully, I'm out of that phase now. But yeah, bro, it's. I really wanted to just produce for a long time because I didn't see the point in rapping, and then I kind of brought it back, but I feel like juggling wanting to write verses and wanting to create great beats is kind of hard, you know what I'm saying? And I like doing both separately. But yeah, always be a producer at heart, for sure.
So okay, so you start producing then in your early 20s, and you said at that point you start taking it more serious, and so I guess it changes from being like a hobby in your mind to like the life path that you start going on for reals. So, and then what are some of the things that evolved over that? Because while Flacko may know all about this story, I personally don't know any of what happened over the last 10 years of your life of making beats and such.
So honestly, like, I spent a lot of time like honing my craft, and whenever I thought that I was ready to like show people, I really wasn't. And I went through like a lot of phases of creating but never releasing. You know, hoarding beats. Uh, you know, just being like, I guess, I don't know if it was maybe because like, you know, I kind of figured out that I was just making music for me. You know, like just I think I was doing it without a purpose. I just loved doing it. You know. It really wasn't until 2019 when yeah, it was like 2019 when I really decided to start investing in myself and putting like the effort in to like get something out for people to hear something, you know. Um, and you know, from then on, like I bought new equipment. I got new stuff. I learned a whole bunch of things that I did not know prior, and just kind of set myself up to continue to get better and better and better and learn more and more and more. Because like also, you know, it was at a point where it's like I felt like I was just making the same kind of beats, you know, and I just wanted to create something different. So there was so much that I learned like over that year period, you know, and experimenting with different stuff and learning how to play my own compositions and you know, like learning about synths and all this other stuff. And that was when I was like, okay, I'm going to take this serious. Like, this is something that I can do because I'm creating like some really dope material right now, you know. And for a lot of people, like a lot of people that don't know, like, so I've released 2 instrumental albums already. That's pretty much how I like jumped into releasing music. I released
I remember that. And also before the show, when we play, I was trying to tell you earlier, before we do the actual show live with the guests, we, depending on who they are, like we had Jay Smooth on. Jay Smooth is a rapper or a DJ. He's a radio personality. So like we played some of his interviews that he's done. He did a TED Talk actually. We played his TED Talk, and we played some clips of some interviews that he was on NBC. If it's like a battle rapper, we'll like play his battles. If it's like an artist, we'll play his music. We'll play your videos, you know. So like the first thing that we started with was Holden was playing your beat tape, you know. So like, yeah, definitely, like that's the thing that like is easiest to find of you immediately out there. That, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've learned to go look for the topic page. Just look for the topic page. That's where you're gonna find all the music they released. And
yeah, because like a lot of people are starting to get like introduced to me as just a rapper, and they don't know that like I do Like, I do a ton of production, and you know what I'm saying, like, but I had 2 full projects before before I ever put out like anything on streaming with me rapping, you know, and like minus SoundCloud or whatever. But yeah, those actually shaped quite a bit because I still feel like that was a high for me, and that was like a peak for me creatively as far as making beats, you know. I actually have not I haven't made anything. I think I made 2 beats this year, you know, just because I've been focused more on the writing and a whole bunch of other stuff, right, that we'll get into. But yeah, I got to get back into my producer bag, because like that time when I did you know, If Only You Were Here and the Ridge Racer tape, like those were times that I was like experimenting quite a bit with stuff, but just building everything on my own. And that was like that shit was it was fun, man. It was fun. I was learning so much about not only just about the program and about my creativity, but about myself too. Like I found a lot of myself through that. You know what I'm saying? Even being, you know, at the time 33, you know, like I was still discovering things about myself and my dedication towards what I love doing, you know. But yeah, that's always gonna be a part of what I do.
So
Work. I wanted to know, because right, like you were talking about this production and artist journey, right? But like I became a fan of you and got to know you through Grind Time. So like in the middle of when in all of this journey was it that you were rapping? So when was it that you discovered battle rapping?
So I still remember the first I remember a lot of shit when it comes to battle rap somehow, but the very first battle I ever watched, like on TV, it was a battle on MTV, and this was probably like 1999 maybe. One of the guys, I remember his name was Elgon, and I can't remember
Wait,
the
what
other
was his
dude.
name?
Funny thing about it, Elgon.
Elgon. I remember Elgon.
Yeah, I still remember that shit to this day. And then I was already intrigued, right? I was like probably like 12 years old or something like that. And then I used to watch Lyricist Lounge show when it was on, and
When it was on MTV.
yeah, that further got me into it. So then by the time like you know what I'm saying, by the time like YouTube rolled around, right? Like when it first, I'm talking like 2005 through 2008, right? Like I would be I would search for rap battles on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd just be curious. And that's when I would get like a lot of you know, you get like the Smack you know, the Smack DVD shit. They would put all those battles on there. Jump Off, I just ran into, you know what I'm saying? And
Just searching the internet for fucking rap battles and shit.
and then realizing that you know, a lot of these cats that I was watching are out actually from out here, from out my way. And then I was like, damn, I had no clue about any of this shit, right? Because like, you know, I would be, you know, I would go to like Oakland for things, but it wasn't, you know, it's like going with my folks. You
Right.
know, like we were going to my battles and shit, so I didn't know what was actually happening out there like that.
Right.
But yeah, like I learned about like the what's the name, Tourette's Without Regrets in Oakland. You know, I'd never battle rapped. Actually, no. I would battle like here and there on some funny shit. You know, like random people out and about, like shit. I battled at a Lupe Fiasco concert in 2008. I battled like outside. You feel me? Like 2 or 3 guys. That shit was hella
That's
funny.
curious. So you didn't
You
battle
know,
anybody in your school? It wasn't a thing that was
No.
happening in your school
No,
like that.
because it wasn't. So like the school that I went to, there was people that rap, but like by the time I would have been old enough to like really step up and challenge them, they had been gone. And
Word.
a lot of the dudes that was in my school that would rap, they be on some like, you know, them niggas would be on some silly shit. They wasn't trying to battle
Right.
type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't until I really got out in the world and you feel me, went on my journey and met people, you know, which is inadvertently how we met, you know, this whole like, you know what I'm saying, the whole 6 degrees of separation type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, bro, I remember it was June 2008. I went to the Scribble Jam qualifiers in Oakland. I didn't participate, but I just went to watch. And I met a couple of the people there. I think I met Reverse Live there. That was he was the first person I met. The first battle rapper I met was Reverse.
That's crazy. That's like, that's super interesting. And it's like, oh shit, you met, right? Like what would end up becoming like a super vet, like a, a great battle rapper.
He was doing his first like, I don't think it wasn't his first rap battle, but like his first time like doing it, you know what I'm saying, like on a large scale as like Scribble Jam type shit. And I met him that day. That was before he became like who he was, because that was before Grind Time. This was like 2 months before Grind Time, right? So so I met him. I met Lush that day. I think I met Thesaurus, maybe Madness. It's cool, like, you know, seeing these dudes like that you would watch on YouTube, and it's like, oh yeah, like these niggas is like people. You feel me? Like they're cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because all you get from that is their battle rap persona, right? So, I remember I was encouraged enough to go on stage at Tourette's later that month and battle rap. And the very first person I battled, I don't know if you remember Illusion Z.
Illusion Z, yeah.
Yeah. He was the very first person I ever battled. I got smoked. You feel me? I didn't know how to work a crowd or none of that shit, right? And you know, and then time after time, like, you know, I would go back, get better a little bit each time. And then I realized also that like, because like I would have ciphers and shit, right? Like this was like my first time really having friends that rap and shit. You know what I'm saying? So like we would kick it and just kind of like freestyle and shit and kick it. And that's how I started to like kind of sharpen my sword a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I used to hang out with Tantrum back in the day, like Tantrum I've known for probably one of the longest tenured people I've known, because I've known him since like 2008, I think. And we would battle each other in the ciphers and shit, you know, get better. And then I was encouraged to do Grind Time. So
if Tantrum is who you were sharpening your blade against, it's a very sharp blade, you know. There's some like people out here that like the names, I mean, right, like even like I said, meeting Reverse Live, you know, like it's like, yo, that's a solid, super solid, that's like if I were to equate him to somebody on the East Coast, it'd be like almost like maybe like Swave or damn, he's been around for a while battling, you know, like, and he's been good for a long time. Yeah,
that's to this day. Watching him ascend was real cool.
And you know, sharpening your blade with Tantrum is like, who else was in the crew? Like if like you, Tantrum were hanging out, who else was hanging out? Who else was a part of the group that was like?
We kicked it. My homie Vocab was with us. Lucian Z would be with us. Peanut, that's when I met Peanut. Caustic would sometimes come around. It would just be like sometimes we would go down to. Yeah, bro. Like we would go down to Santa Cruz, because Santa Cruz is south of us, and couple of times we went out there and kicked it with Reverse, because Reverse knew everybody that I knew. So I would like rap with him and shit. You know what I'm saying? We'd all drink together. You feel me? Those were some cool ass days. You feel me? I entered the Grind Time League and all that shit. It taught me a lot regarding like how to perform, because I realized I didn't have that much experience at the time, like in performing to crowds and shit like that. So that taught me quite a bit. You know, I made quite a few friends, you know, and acquaintances through battle rap, which I'm always thankful for. You know, but it came a time, I think it was like maybe like 2010 or something like that, you know, where I was bored with it. It felt like writing a book report, you know, like it was, and I felt like I wasn't getting it down at the time, you know. So I just decided to focus on other things, right? And then just focus on like making beats and all this other stuff. So I took like a 5-year hiatus. You know, everything during that time really like blew up and became like larger. Smack had came in by that time. Like King of the Dot was like crazy at that time. And I started entering, this was like 2015, I started entering Q's league, Power and Respect, which was like, by nature, it was like smaller than all of the other major battle leagues, but the environment was perfect for me because it felt local, it felt homegrown, especially the events that Q was throwing. And that's where I really like honed in like performing and bar structure and all this other stuff, and seeing what really worked, you know, and what I was doing was working, you know. And so from 2015 to 2017, I did, you know, I did some battles. You know, I did great in almost all of them. There was like maybe one I didn't, I wasn't too good in, but yeah, that was a fun time because you know, the way that like Q would throw his events was completely different than you know, like the larger scale events that I've been to.
But in what sense?
So Q throws PNR events like you know, he's a very big wrestling fan, so he draws a lot from that. And the way that he kind of sets up the storylines between the battlers was really dope. Instead of just you're dope, you guys are gonna battle type shit. Like Q would put a lot of thought into why you know, these two individuals are battling, what's the story behind it, or what story can we create out of it. And it was like it was the entertainment aspect of the battles that was really dope. But the coolest thing was that, like, and it's funny, I was just telling him, you know, me and him, he's like one of my best friends. But me and him were talking about this like a week ago, and you know, I was like, bro, like the way that like he didn't choose large venues. Q generally chose very small venues, and he did that on purpose, you know, to compensate for a smaller crowd. But it gave it a much more intimate feeling, and it was a feeling like we used to do battles at this place called The Study up in Sacramento, and it was like a clothing and skate shop. And I remember like the fucking the people next door, like they were like a small little grocery store, like they would give us discounts and shit, you know what I'm saying, because we would be giving them money, you know. And like it was just like a dope like community thing. That's what it really felt like. And performing for that crowd was a lot of fun. It wasn't anything for me to like be nervous about or be like anxious about or anything like that. We was just having fun, you know. And that's the aspect of battle rap that I missed, because I wasn't having fun with it when I was doing Grind Time, you know.
It went from like playing like pro ball to like just shooting around in the court around your way with some homies that you play ball with your whole life, and that made it have that feeling again of like, this is what
But
I fell in
it was
love with.
also like it was like that. It was that feeling, but it was also like some of the most competitive ball, you know, that
Right.
I ever experienced,
Yeah.
right? Like, and
Like playing
that,
at the Rucker.
yeah, and that's what was the exactly just like the Rucker, right? Or like Drew League type shit, like where you just
Mm-hmm.
get to show in and show out, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
that I love that aesthetic just because you know, doing like having to deal with like main stage politics and shit because there's always politics and you know, battle rap and it's always just weird shit going on, right? And I just wasn't I was never attracted to any of that or wanting to be around any of that, you know, and for me, like the people that at the time that I was cool with in battle rap, this is like the PNR era, like I felt like, especially because we were older, you know, all of us are getting into our 30s or are 30 already, you know what I'm saying? So it's like we're moving a bit different now than I would have been in my early 20s doing grind time and shit. Uh, and it felt like at the time, like, okay, like I have this brotherhood and I have this, you know, like this league where, you know, people super fuck with me. You know, I'm continuing to improve and evolve on this shit, you know, and then come 2017, I do one last battle against Fate. Shout out to Fate. I did my last battle against him, and I said I was going to do I was going to take a hiatus, you know, a little sabbatical, because I was just tired of writing. I knew I was getting to that point where I was just getting tired, you know,
Getting
and
daunting.
yeah, and you know, you stop battling and you feel me, everybody still hits you up, hey, like, can I get you on this card? Like, you trying to battle, which like, I think like Ruin Your Day was trying to get me on at one point, and I was just like, I'm kind of burnt out, you know, like I just need some time. And from there, from there, I wasn't like watching battle rap anymore. By the time I quit, I wasn't really watching battle rap at that time. I just kind of fell off of it. Um,
It
and yeah,
started it started that was probably around the start of the era of like everybody kind of like copying each other and
mhm.
sounding similar, and you probably were trying to avoid any influence from outside sources so you could keep,
It's like
at least that's how I interpreted when you would talk about it.
yeah, it's like it just things get oversaturated, right? And then you know, like I like I'm not the kind of person that's gonna battle 2 times in a night. You know, that's gonna call the promoter and be like, hey, you got to battle for me? Did somebody drop out? You know, type shit. Like I'm
Yeah,
not that kind of
yeah.
person. Like I pick and choose what's gonna be like, you know, I'm not picking and choosing, but like I'm gonna take a battle that makes sense to me. And Q did a good job of that, of putting me in front of people that made sense at the time. And you know what I'm saying? Like I I definitely like appreciate those days. That was like a lot of fun. But it just got tiring, you know, it got tiring. I felt like I liked going to battle events without the expectations of rapping, you know, where I could like smoke and drink as much as I want to, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, and just kick it. Like I like doing that, you know, and having to go about my bars and shit like all throughout the night, knowing I'm like one of the last people to go.
That was
Like,
no fun.
yeah, you feel me? It takes the
Yeah,
fun out of
nah,
it.
it takes it definitely. I never actually thought about it from that perspective, but like you're right, and like I think that's what like I had trouble with um with my shit at the beginning because it was too much. It was like I went from like fucking, yo, here's your training battle, and like here goes your first grind time battle.
Yeah,
The like a month later, and like yeah, bottom of the card, but and then like from that bottom of the card, it immediately shot up to like top of the card, and
yeah,
like sometimes too much pressure, too much ascension too quick, and two, you know, like that you got to get used to those things and realize whether or not like you can do those things. The patience required to be able to keep your zone and be at the event, because you got to be at the event, because we need to know that you're not flaking on us for the event, right? Or and you definitely got to let it be known, because like if you don't show up at a battle event, like for context for people watching who never watched the battle, or been to an event or understand the world, right? Like you, if you don't show up after a certain while, the crowd and the people, they know that you're on the card. They're going to the whispers begin. Like, is he flaking?
Yeah.
He flaking? Is he scared? Is he afraid? Is he, you know, like there's some people who immediately their reflex is like, man, I hope he's all right. I hope he's good. I hope it wasn't like an emergency or something like that, you know? And then there's usually like the promoters and the people who throw the event. And I can speak from that perspective. And like usually, you know, like depending on like how the communication is, like I might be like, if you haven't communicated with me, and you know, or you have communicated but like sparingly, and like the communication the day of was like an excuse, in the back of my head I'm probably like, is that real? Is your mother really sick? Did you really you just calling out from work, motherfucker?
I could say I've never
and the patience required to keep your focus, being at the event live and being one of the last people that's gonna be performing, and like to hold your nerves and hold your grit and your desire, your ferocity to like just let it out at that moment, like, and be able to keep the rhythm of everything and catch the crowd, captivate the crowd. It's like this. It's a crazy dance that like most people don't understand, you know, for battle rap.
A lot of
And
mental preparation.
A lot of mental preparation. Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
like especially you know what I'm saying, especially if that's something that you're not used to, you know, and that's something that like I really kind of thrust myself into, you know, just to put myself out there, you know what I'm saying, and grow from it, you know, because like I grew a lot and I learned a lot about myself and about my craft, you know, as far as like rapping and shit through battle rap, you know, and but
it sounds like it might have been a situation where like if you didn't do that, you might not have been doing that in your personal life, right? Like
right, yeah,
the energy of of battle, right? So like it sounds like it you almost were like, you know, hey, I'd probably be like you know, more seclusionary and more like, you know,
I'd just be going to the events probably, you know what I'm saying, like
or
chopping it up with people and shit, but just not participating in it, you know, because like I still like to go out and do shit, but I just wouldn't be that kind of person that's like I'm gonna be you know what I'm saying, like they kicking the ciphers off, motherfuckers is rapping and I'm gonna just jump in and wow the crowd. Nah, like I'm gonna just stand and watch, you feel me, and just kick it.
right.
I'm a very low key person, you know what I mean, but
Facts, I know that about you.
very very low key, but at the same time, like I like that battle rap prepped me for being in front of like people, you know what I'm saying, and you feel me, doing my thing in my way, you know, and people fucking with it. Like that's still like a crazy concept to me in a way, like and those are things that like, you know, I try to remember, like performing music, you know, and how to like sway a crowd and how to you know what I'm saying, like how to have like a crowd's attention and all that shit, right? Like and things that I'm growing into as well. And these are all shit that I learned years ago, you know, without having microphones, you know. You know what I mean, like so yeah, like that was definitely like an integral part of my journey as an artist, and making the connections that I've made, like that still stand today as well too. You know, like that was important as well, you know. as I stated earlier, I mean, we wouldn't be doing this shit like right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm eating through battle rap. So like,
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah, no, battle rap is a blessing, man. I think that all of us that have had any real involvement with it, for the most part, tend to probably have like a love-hate relationship with it, right?
Right.
But like, you know, that's like you never have a real love relationship without having hate in the, well, not hate necessarily, right? But like hateful moments, hate,
Yeah.
like
Turmoil. You feel me?
the turmoil. The only way to like, the only way to truly hate something is if you actually love it.
That's
You
true.
know, like
Yeah.
it's a passion. Like hate is different than disliking things. You know, so like when you actually hate a thing, it's because you love it. You know, like it's because you love it that you have the disdain that you have, to the point where you could call it hate. You know,
Yeah.
so like, I think that we all have that love hate relationship with it, but it comes from dealing with that.
Facts.
Dealing with the, like, it's not easy, and it's like super tumultuous, and nobody, like, I like to liken it to UFC in particular, like
Mm-hmm.
not just MMA, but in particular UFC, because like I noticed that in the UFC, nobody gets out and nobody retires without getting beat. Like it's not like boxing. It's not like Rock Marciano or Floyd Mayweather or anybody who had like a career where they like just won and they didn't necessarily lose like at all. Like Floyd Mayweather couldn't exist in UFC. Like
Right.
I can't even speak towards like other leagues in MMA, but like for the most part in the UFC, like I noticed that there's no getting out without losing,
Right.
and
Yep.
that's battle rap.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's battle rap. Nobody gets out without losing, and how you deal with that loss speaks to who your character as a man or
Mm-hmm.
woman, and who you are as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
and how you react to backlash and negativity, and thrive in the moment and
Mm-hmm.
find your balance. Like it's a dance. Like there's a lot going on that people don't realize in battle rap. That's why you have like fights break out,
Right.
because emotions are high, yo. Emotions are high sometimes,
Right.
and
It's
you don't know what happened behind the scenes sometimes. Sometimes, like Math recently spoke about his his fight with
Dose.
Dose, and like spoke about like things that was happening that I'm like, oh, I wasn't aware of that. Like I didn't know that the battle before, that it was a whole Philly thing, that they weren't even supposed to battle. He was supposed to be battling Rex, and like Rex didn't want to battle in the moment, and he was like, or something along those lines. I forget. But the point being, he said something about the battle before their battle. Homie from Philly was getting wild up in dude's face. He was like, he told Dose like beforehand, like, yo, we should chill. We should not do that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and that Dose was like, yeah, no problem. You know what I'm saying? And then gets in the battle and is like brim on the fucking on the nose, on the bridge of your nose. And then that's how you end up with like a fight, because emotions are running high, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know what the person went through, and that's the other thing with battle rappers, is that like, yo, we all have like, we're not actual signed rappers. Like it's not like Drake, or like back in the days when Jay would sign anybody who was on state property, right? Like any of like the Emilio Sparkses or
Yeah.
guys like that, right? Like they could just fuck around and like be like exalted, like, yo, I'm in the record industry and I make albums and I'm signed and this and that. Like I don't have to. Like battle rappers have to. Battle rappers tend to just love this shit, but then they have a whole real life going on.
Yeah.
And most times people don't realize that like their real life like might be like in some turmoil, because
Right.
like usually we're young and going through life like everybody else. You know what I'm
And
saying? It's just we're making.
that's what ultimately ended up getting like removing me from battle rap completely, right? Was just it was life in general. And you know, like at this point I'm focused on things that were happening in my life. 2017 was like kind of a rough year for me. And I was focused on getting my shit back together, you know, and there was no way that I was going to be able to focus on battle rap. And from that point, I was just like, you know, I don't watch battles no more. You know, and Q at this point was like, you know, starting to like wind down on throwing events and everything because he was getting stressed out with it, you know, and
It's a lot.
and it is. It's a lot, and even more so for him because he's throwing the events. He's
Yeah,
paying
exactly. No,
my
yeah,
amount.
exactly. When you're the person dealing with setting up the battles and like making the show run, you're dealing with the worst of like everything because you're
Yeah.
dealing with everybody.
Right.
So like you're the manager essentially. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
you're the manager at the job. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you got to manage all these different personalities.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like I guarantee you, there's gonna be some uncooperative personalities in the
Oh
mix.
yeah. Oh yeah. But that's what I respected about him, and and just the professionalism that he always maintained. You know. But yeah, like it's funny. We was just like reminiscing on this shit like last week, right? We was cracking up because it's like when niggas that used to play like college football, you know, watch their highlights and shit on YouTube from like you know, like watching their reminisce and shit, you know, and like just how much fun it was back then, you know. But yeah, at this stage in life, like all of that energy goes into music because that's just what I love more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So uh, that it helped, um, and it definitely helped me grow as a person that I am. You know, but that was just like and I'm thankful about this, but that was just one chapter. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Of my evolution. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't see myself battle rapping into my 30s. You know, I didn't see that. Other people, you know, niggas make money off this shit. Hey, cool, do your thing. You feel me? But like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not making bread off of this. I'm not doing like, you know, and I don't care to because I'm getting burnt out. So it's like I don't really care to move up to go battle on like the larger stages and shit like that. I was just like, I got other things in my life going on right now. That's just more important, you know. And
Word.
yeah, you know,
At that time, you're speaking of like when you were in the middle of your uh, resurgence and
yeah,
you were getting hit up by like Ruin Your Day,
mm-hmm,
which is like a big platform to get hit up by.
yeah,
So like, because Avocado is like, you know,
mm-hmm, yeah, yeah,
the super cosign.
yeah. I probably could have made my way onto there. So, but yeah, it was just like, you know, I could have done it if I really dedicated myself to it, but that just wasn't a dedication I wanted to make. And you know, I commend anybody, like people like we was just talking about like how Reverse Live has been good for so long, right? Because 9 times out of 10 times he's gonna show up and everything's gonna be quality, you know. And
Quality.
even though the one time that's not quality is like not quality for his standards, you know.
Yeah,
But
anybody else would like be like, hey, that's great performance.
exactly, yeah, you know, like you can tell when like the rust starts like settling in. And I didn't want that to happen to me. I didn't want that to I didn't want to go on like, you know, a 3 battle losing streak and shit. Like I went out on like a really great battle actually. You know, and then before I really decided, okay, like I'm done, you know. And uh that was when I was like, okay, I can close that chapter now. I had my closure from grind time. You know, I got all of that out. You know what I'm saying? And now like I want to see about the music. So
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like 2017. Yeah.
I mean, it's been 5 years since then, and GTX is having a resurgence, and there it feels almost like literally a call to home for anybody who was on grind time, who like could legit, right? Like, cause I see a lot of thirsty people like being like, ooh, ooh, me, and
Yeah.
I'm sitting there real quiet, like just watching people, and I'm like, it ain't you, homie. Like, it definitely ain't you, but I could tell you without like no bias. Like, I mean, like I know you, and there is always gonna be a bias, but like the truth is that going out in 2017 on a high and having the open door, like I think that you, out of more other people that like are like maybe a tier above me, or like in my tier, or like a tier lower than me, who are going ooh ooh me, and
Yeah.
really haven't had anything in between then to like prove that there's a reason for ooh ooh me, right? That I'm like, this does not make sense, homie. I don't know why you're speaking up right now. But like you, I think like would make sense if you were to battle over there. Would you be willing to go? Like, are things different in the last 5 years? Have you like gotten enough art out that you're like, yo, I have the space for a little bit of like hand to hand combat, word to word combat, um, uh, and still my artistry also. And I think
No.
that maybe I want to promote my artistry through doing a battle and like benefiting off of the resurging, coming back fans and all this. No,
Honestly, nah. Even if they wanted to, if people wanted to pay me whatever, like, nah, I'm cool. Like, it's it, oh man, I don't follow battle rap, so I don't know the current climate of battle rap, right? So it'd be like, you know what I'm saying? It'd be like going from the big three to going to the league, right? And it's like it's all these like hyper athletic people around you and shit. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what's going on in battle rap. I don't follow it no more. So I don't know how like I guess I don't know what approach I would even take if I were to decide to do so. But yeah, bro, I'm in a space in my life like I reminisce on it. I'm at that stage of the reminiscing,
word,
but
word.
but getting back into it, I don't think that'll ever happen again. I think that was
It was a
I think that
chapter,
was
like you said.
yeah that was
The
a
chapter,
chapter.
and you closed that chapter when your last battle. It was on high, and you're like, yo, this is a chapter I'm cool with staying closed.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, nah,
yeah,
I
man.
respect that.
Yeah, I'm not trying to I didn't want to go out sad. I didn't want to go out getting 3-0'd because I just didn't have bars no more. You feel me? Or showing up and half freestyling and shit. Like, nah, bro.
I
That's
think
just like,
that you I think that you doubt yourself, or judge yourself by high standards, and like you'd be surprised how well you do, I think. But also, who the fuck am I? Like, I'm just saying it and I just think, right? But like, thinking and doing is a whole shit ton, like
it
we said, that happens between there,
it is, bro.
and
I'm
like,
very like,
if you're cool, like with it, like that's it. Like, that's the discussion right there, right? Like, that's
well,
like,
it's like also it's like it's at a point where it's like I know because like I'm critical of myself because I do hold myself to a very high standard. You know what I'm saying? So when I feel like I don't personally meet that, then then I'm like more than willing to admit that, and I look at things. I try to look at things realistically when it comes to myself, so I don't try to have like self bias about certain things. And I know I get my ass whooped by these kids probably today. That's like that's dedicating all of their time to
right.
writing for 2 to 3 battles that they're doing in a month.
Yeah, no, there's something there. There's not something to be said. That's like the the standard, right?
Yeah.
Like, yo,
Yeah.
like it's the people who are active who are gonna like, you know, graduate the most and understand it the most and have the better chance at a better performance is the people who are actively like in it, enthralled in it, and actively doing it, you know.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. It
it's
was
it's 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 hard to just pick up
Right.
from
That's
years of not doing to doing, and like what, just do great like that. That's,
yeah,
it's
like
rough. It's rough.
like I just can't I can't imagine being in front of that because like I said, I don't know the climate. So like you know, my last battle was against Fate. My very last battle was against Fate, and then now I'm watching this dude battling Passwords and Madflex and going toe to toe with them dudes. You know what I'm saying? And you know, so I've literally watched this dude grow from like his very first battle to like this shit. You know, and it makes me think like I would much rather watch like these young guys ascend. You feel me? It's you know, because like at the end of the day, like I said, like, and it ties into like I don't want to go out sad. I would rather pass the torch. You know what I'm saying? Like I would rather make space for somebody who's gonna like
Dedicate
you know, who's
themselves.
gonna like hold that space. You know what I'm saying? Like I was
Hmm.
holding it, and so like guys like him and like Next, who I watched his very first rap battle ever, and now he's like going crazy on Smack, and
Right.
you know, like, and super proud of the those guys, like those two specifically. I'm super proud of because literally watching their first battles and then seeing where they're at's like crazy. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and then seeing the shit from like, because like by the time I was doing PNR, I was kind of like the older brother type of like figure, right? And and really just kind of like also giving advice to like a lot of dudes, like, you know, yo, like, you know, this is what you're doing is dope, but you need to speak up. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you should change these lines around and do this, you know, type of shit, you know, just giving like advice and input because they valued that. And I think that was also a realization in that like I've become an OG in this shit, and now it's probably time to just let the young guys do their thing and I go and do something else. You know what I'm saying?
Or
And let the cycle continue. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Because like yeah, realistically, like if I came back today, like I wouldn't have the heart for it, and that would show. You know,
Or
and then I don't want to get look. I don't want to get my ass whooped on camera. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Taking
yeah.
L's
No,
like that,
absolutely.
and then fuck my brand up.
Absolutely.
So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know,
I
so
can
yeah,
empathize.
the overall the overarching answer is nah, I'm
Yeah.
cool.
Nah, cool. Facts. I understand it. I understand it. I'm definitely not like you know, uh hired to get you to do it, or myself thinking about doing it myself. But like I do see a lot of people from the grind time days like online making a bid for because grind time you so because you're not aware, you're not following, you might not be aware that like Lush One and Disaster started grind time back up again. It's called GTX, and they've thrown their first event already, and they throwing their neck. I think they thrown like a couple events already, and
Okay,
they're like throwing some pretty big stuff. And you know, there is like you know, yo, they're clearly staying, you know, up to date, but there is also like an open door for the guys that started on grind time.
yeah,
If they, I think the caveat that like some people are not understanding is that it's like if you stayed busy, if you know, have like a logical reason for there to be a battle, you know, even a comeback, you
Right.
know, like a desire for people to see you again. And for me, there isn't like a like desire to do that. Like
Right.
right.
Yeah.
So I can empathize with the like, nah, I'm good, bro. Like, you know, like
Yeah, like
I'm
I,
good, bro. I'm an artist, yo. I'm an
yeah,
artist,
bro.
and
Look, I can't be
I feel way
dedicating.
more
Right.
uh uh
Well, like
good,
liberating or like
or no, I feel way more fulfilled
fulfilled. Yeah.
fulfilled being an artist that like puts out bodies of work and music, and like I feel better doing that than um the battle shit. Like if anything, like for me, I'm like, if like you guys want me to come back and host, I'd be willing to like get paid to like host, you
Yeah.
know. But like I'm not like, yo, throwing my hat in the ring to like jump back in the ring. Like, nah. But like hosting is like second nature to me, you know? So like um that's not a problem. I'm down to do that. But I'm definitely not like, oh, I want to battle tomorrow, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Man.
yeah, it takes I feel the same way of like, yo, it should go to the guys that are like really active and like living, breathing, and like probably throwing their whole fucking personal life to the wind in the name of battle rap. You know, like it should
No,
go to
you gotta
those
do.
guys.
You really have to do that to like get to that
Yes, that's
tier.
essentially, yeah, to
Like
get to
it's got
that
to
tier
become a
to like
full-time job for you.
full-time job, yo. And by full-time job, it's like it's 24/7 because it's like all the other artistry shit or like entertainment things that people don't realize. Like I don't envy and I don't want to be a YouTuber or a content creator like that. Like, I mean, I'm
Right.
cool with this and doing like our interview, and like this is enough time that I can put aside and dedicate. And even then, I got to take breaks during the year to do artist shit.
Yeah.
And so like I'm cool with this, but like I couldn't dedicate myself enough to like putting out 3 YouTube videos a day. That is your life. You like your content creation like takes over at that point. And with
I'd
battle
really
rap,
be
it's kind
thinking
of like
about that too.
the same
About
thing. Battle rap is the same thing where it's just like, yo, like you like this is your independent business owner. That's it.
yeah.
Your brand is your business. And you are your brand, and you have to now dedicate yourself tirelessly like a business owner does in order to succeed, in order for yourself to succeed in
Hmm.
those careers, you know. So like you got to like tirelessly dedicate yourself to that in order for it to succeed.
And then having to stand out with a bunch of people that you know like are trying to do the same exact shit. You know, and
Everybody
you know,
wants to take each other's heads off in that. Like
everybody
it's the
does. You
most
know, and
competitive. It's the most competitive. Like nothing else in the arts of music and the like rhyming of words is like things that competitive. Everywhere else, it's kind of like I don't even care if I'm the
but it's like
best, or I could just say I'm the best, and it's whatever, you know.
like
Like
I was like talking with Q the other day about this, and like I was saying too, like you know, like for example, right? Because you're from the same era. Like we was doing this shit when it was like 50 motherfuckers in this shit. You know what I'm saying? And now countless. It's 50 people in the city. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Now
minimum.
that be battling. Yeah, like
It's just
you
like
know,
50 people in the local town
exactly. And
inside the city.
when like back in the day, like you feel me, it was like you know 7 to 10 people like in like 4, you feel me, like districts, or there's four cities or whatever. Like it was very what's the name, like exclusive, right? Like you really had to try to get on, but now you can get on anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like there's battle leagues in every. I didn't see somebody had posted something with a battle league that they did in Utah.
Yeah, nah, there's battle leagues. Come on, I mean, at the Mess side, we had fucking killing, hungry, killing. What I forgot his name fully, but
Oh,
like, he,
yeah,
he
yeah.
and they're from like Des Moines, Iowa, bro.
Iowa,
Where it's
yeah.
just like, what? I didn't ever think that Des Moines, Iowa, would have rappers. Like, yay, good for you guys. You know, like, and the league started inside somebody's fucking basement with like, probably like 8 to 10 people showing up from like the local area that all know battle rap and talk shit online about battle rap, and it's just like but that is how you start things.
It's
That's how
everywhere.
that
Yeah.
that is the energy of cultivating like movement, like uh all cities that um become a factor in hip hop culture are cities that cultivated their own local scene
Hmm.
and their own way of doing it rather than trying to be New York Part 2. Like being New York Part 2 ain't gonna work for nobody nowhere. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like what's
Right.
gonna work for you is doing what Detroit did not long ago, and like
Hmm.
cultivating a sound that's like, now this is our shit and this is our sound that we're adding to the overall experience. Same as
Hmm.
New Orleans did back in the days with the bounce
Yep.
rap, and like same as like uh Memphis did with like Crunk, or I don't know where Crunk was born necessarily. I don't know if it's Memphis or Atlanta, but like
But no, I feel you
in
though. Like,
between, but it's that, and in the Bay also, right? Like having its own sound and its own, and being like, nah, we're gonna even cultivate our own sound within Cali and not sound nothing like LA,
yeah.
it's a
Hmm.
totally different sound. Um, so like that's what it takes, and that's what it takes with anything in this culture. So
Hmm.
like in battle rap, it would be the same thing. Like if you want like a scene, you're gonna have to build it and like
Yep.
make it, and it's gotta be your own shit. It can't be, Chicago Part 2.
Yeah.
It can't be LA Part 2. It's gotta be wherever the fuck you're from, Part 1.
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
and you're
I
you're
agree.
birthing it, you know?
I agree. I agree. And that was Sacramento. For now Sacramento's like an hour 20 from me, but that's where I was doing the battles at. And the Bay Area, of course, like has its scene and everything, but Sacramento didn't really have like a rap scene. You know what I'm saying? Or not? I'm sorry, not a rap scene, or like a battle rap scene.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always been a rap scene in Sacramento, but as far as like battle rap, right? So that's when like No Excuses and PNR, and all like, and
And
everybody
what's
kind of
P&R?
PNR is a
What?
Power and Respect. So that's the battle rap league that I battled in. Um, there was a couple of chapters. I battled in the Sacramento chapter, um, and that's where like a lot of Q really only threw events there for like, as far as like the league's version of like the large events, right? Like the Q's like big card events, and I feel like that really kind of put a spark into like the Sacramento battle rap scene, because thanks to that, there's a couple of people from Sac that are like going crazy right now.
Yeah.
Um, in other leagues right now, like Next and Drix um, for sure doing that, and so like people are starting to take notice of that as well too, like, which is really dope, and it's cool to see that, like, post my era, like, uh, but like outside of that, like, yeah, no, I agree. It's about like building your own identity, having your own like your own flavor, right? Like you said, like you don't want to try to recreate what made the city good in the first, or like travel backwards, right? Like, you know, take what you can, but like build on that and make it like something new, like you said, like Detroit definitely did that. And just in how much like the Bay Area's like shares like influence with Detroit, right? Like the that whole like synergy that we have with them over there, and a lot of the artists that collaborate. And these are from like rebuilt scenes of two places, you know what I'm saying? Like so yeah, no, it's just crazy. Like it all comes together, right? Like and it's just it's really dope to see, especially like right now, you know, like the underground scene in the Bay Area is super dope. A lot of the artists that come out of Oakland and Vallejo. I don't know if you've heard of this kid La Russell from Vallejo.
Yeah, I have, and I keep on hearing about him in bigger and bigger spots.
Yeah,
Like
that shit's
I
crazy.
heard
Like,
of him from, I think, Lush. You know, like I just pay attention to Lush. You know, I have no qualm with like admitting like the friends that I pay attention to, because they like Lush one, Henry Hennessy, uh Gene. They like put me on to like a bunch of new shit, and then
yeah,
if it's not them, then it's my neighborhood, and my
yeah,
neighborhood is like bumping like the new shit, and I'm like, hey Siri, what song is this? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and that's how like I keep up with pretty much everything. Like there's hardly ever do I like hear, like it's probably like double XL cover, freshman cover, and like
Yeah,
it's even then it's only like half of them never heard of. You know, like
yeah.
I still have heard of half of them because I'm keeping up with everything and shit.
Well, it's like it's dope to see somebody that's local. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
across the bridge, uh, and like the stuff that he's doing, and people that like being on like the Joe Budden podcast, and being on Breakfast Club, and being on like getting all of these looks from like a lot of like the prominent sources, and then like, you know, getting the chance. I think he posted a video of him meeting Diddy recently, you know, like Diddy
Mm-hmm.
taking notice, and like that shit is dope. Like we really like root for people like that out here, because a lot of us don't make it. Well, a lot of us don't even make it out the Bay Area. You feel me? Some of these dudes don't even make it. Like I follow Thizzler, and it's like dudes die every week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like can barely make it out, right? So it's like seeing an artist who's so genuine, but like relatable as well too, and you know, and he's from the Bay Area, and like people are like really fucking with him. Him and Larry June has just been so dope to see like rise. You know, especially Larry, because that was dope, because I was on Larry before a lot of people were, and it was like cool to see like, oh, he's working with you know what I'm saying? Oh, he's working with Harry Fraud. Oh, he's working with Cardo now. Oh, he's working with Alchemist. Oh, he's working with, you feel me, like all of these dudes that like Currency fucks with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, okay, now he's doing songs with Snoop. You know what I'm saying? Oh, now he's doing songs with you feel me? Shit, who do you, he just did a song with somebody super big, but yeah, like it's dope seeing somebody from out here
Get that
flourish
shine.
and
Mm-hmm.
get that shine, and like people like super fuck with him from out of state, like watching him go on tour, and people is singing like hella shit that we knew from over here, you know.
That never ends. Also, by the way, like think about it. Like the Bronx is where like hip hop is born from, right? So like it's like we got that credit for like ever, right? And it's like that's not enough. Like I still want to see poppin' ass Bronx artists every year. You know what I mean? Like there's like people that I'm always rooting. I'm like, oh, you from the Bronx? I might not even like him too much, but I'm gonna still root for him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I'm rooting for you. Like that's it. You're from the soil. I'm rooting for you. I want you to win. You know.
What's the
So
last big artist? Cardi's from the Bronx, right? She's the
yeah,
last like
Cardi's
big
from the
artist
Bronx.
to.
The Bronx is like on fire right now. Like the Bronx is like bringing New York City to life. Like post Pop Smoke passing away or being murdered. You know what I mean? Um, because like it was about to pop for him,
Yeah,
and like I think that like Five's like got the crown by default, but like it's not like it's like his. It's just like he's like kind of like placeholder king right now of the city,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
And so like that's Brooklyn, but like Brooklyn's movement kind of like it didn't fizzle out, but like the Bronx's drill movement like flourished in that time and has taken off. And in turn, you know, of course, the murders take off because it's drill shit. So it's, you know, like but like the Bronx is on fire, and like there's a lot of the popping shit that's happening in drill that is coming out of New York City is coming out of the Bronx. And so like there's a whole bunch of like, you know, names that like are the guys right now, you know, that are out of the Bronx, that are literally from down the block from me. So like I feel super
That
proud.
shit's
Like
crazy,
I'm super proud. I'm super happy. I'm like, nah, but you know, I'm like not making excuses for the murders, but like I'm just saying, I'm proud of like the city being like, and like my local neighborhood being like a part of the catalyst. Like Bad
Yeah.
Bunny is like a fucking international artist, and Bad Bunny came to shoot his like one of his first music videos from his latest album that just came out, literally on my block, like on the same block like that I live.
That's
That like
crazy.
it's just like that. That's how poppin' my area is right now. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody knows what time it is. Like the people who get it, who you know are active, you know what time it is, and like it. But it also cultivates a great energy in the music, and in turn, like it's bringing the city to life. You know, and
Mhm.
like New York is like hitting oh, people thought we were maybe gonna come back like around Pop Smoke, and it's like even though we don't have like a guy that we're ready to give the crown to like that, Favi's a good placeholder. We still have an energy going in New York City thanks to the Bronx, and so like yeah, but again, right, like it doesn't ever stop. Like you win championships with the Lakers, like no, I want to win every year. I
Yeah.
want to win every year. I
Right.
want us winning every year.
Right.
I want somebody from my local area to bring back an achievement that like everybody can like be like,
Absolutely.
fuck yeah,
Because
that's us
it
right
do feel
there.
like winning a championship. You
It
feel
feels
me?
like
Like
winning a
and you're watching your
championship.
team win. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was just at a Yankee game the other day, and I was in the ninth inning, and it was like 0-0 all the way, and like fucking like I think you talked to me about it on IG.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
I caught the home run on fucking. I hadn't been to a Yankee game in ages. I still hadn't been to a official game at that new stadium, and I kind of did that. I had been to that stadium before that day, but like never to sit and just watch the game. I didn't
Yeah.
even show up for like the whole game. I showed up in like fucking seventh inning, like
Right.
the like top of the seventh inning, and like I recorded the fucking walk off home run, and it was absolutely like I had been like on a very like I can give a fuck about like sports. My Yankees are losing. I don't care anymore. LeBron James is like he's like building all these teams up, and like you know, he's not gonna win a chip like that. Like, I don't care about sports no more. All the things I care about are like not contending,
It's not
really,
happening for
right?
you.
So like I stopped genuinely caring. And in that moment right there, sitting there and like watching that home run, like walk off home run, like was just like immediately all the like, yes, like yes. And then it feels so like, look at us. Like Bad Bunny comes to shoot videos in the neighborhood. Bronx drill rappers is popping. It's popping in the Bronx. The Yankees are winning again. It looks like we might win a chip this year. Like it feels good to be from the Bronx. Like I'm pretty sure that that's the feeling that you're getting watching Lil Russell win.
It's like
You know what I
I'm
mean?
like watching him make the playoffs and go deep in it right now. You feel
Yeah,
me? Like
exactly.
like
Exactly.
he's you know, he's not there yet, but it's like okay, like you know, he might become something. You feel me?
It's
and
like
that's
watching any of those teams that we watched last season have like the Celtics and the everybody who stepped up when
Like the Grizzlies and
yeah, exactly.
and the
All the young
Mavericks and all that.
kids,
Yeah.
all the young kids that are making their league exciting, you know, because that's what it
Yep.
takes. Like we said with battle rap, it takes people who want to enthrall themselves and give themselves and dedicate themselves tirelessly to something in order to make something successful.
Exactly.
Right.
Bro, nah, I fuck with this conversation, man, because I equate like sports to everything in life, damn near. But yeah, like it. Watching that happen is like super dope.
Sports and rap go together like fucking hand in hand.
Absolutely.
What? Like you could compare, like I said, battle rap to UFC, MMA, you know, boxing, you know, a little bit of comedy roasting, you know what I mean? You could compare like being a major artist to like being a fucking championship fucking boxer or fucking league team. Like it, like when you win big, like Drake has been bringing back rings to Toronto. You know what I'm saying? Like whole rings, like championship trophies, like you know what I'm saying? Like everything, like bringing it back to Toronto and in turn Canada. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a W. All of Canada could be like, yo, Drake is from my country. You know what I'm saying? Like it's lit. It's lit out here.
It's not quite like that.
Holden's like,
No,
I don't feel that way.
No, that's not how I
feel.
You
should take pride.
Real quick, Holden, who's the biggest artist to come out of Montreal?
Celine Dion. Celine Dion.
You said who?
Celine Dion.
Oh, Celine Dion.
Yeah.
I know she was Canadian.
Oh, she's Quebec. If she's not Montreal, then probably Arcade Fire. In the last while, there's not that many huge names lately. K Tronada is doing a lot. He got a Grammy in the dance category, so we have a couple of Grammy. And
is K Tronada's from there?
Yeah, and Dirtwork, the producer, was on like the last 3 Kanye albums, on some other J. Cole stuff. Got a few Grammys off of that. But our scene's in a more figuring it out, our identity phase. It's because we have 2 scenes. There's an English and a French one, and then there's a whole bunch of local politics that get tied up into that. So we don't have that many English hip-hop artists that are out there. I think Nate Husser is one of the bigger ones that's making moves right now, but it's not quite there yet.
So is it like, because I would imagine there would be a sense of pride if somebody from that scene scored a major win, right? Like I mean, well, like
K Tronada won a Grammy, everybody was a K Tronada fan that week.
I bet.
Bro, I couldn't tell you 5 K Tronada songs like gun to my head, but I was fucking repping that shit. I'll bring it up anytime. It's from production, Montreal crushes, but people don't know it like that because producers are really bad at making noise.
That is true. Yeah, so yeah, it's like that sort of pride of seeing, like, you know, barely having artists that get on.
Well, it's like like that Nate Husser guy had a moment where when Jake Paul won his first boxing match, his song got played, and it was like, oh shit, we're part of a moment, like just a moment. It didn't have to be the biggest moment, just a moment that people cared about, and we had a moment in that because like it's like every win counts. Like I know there's been people who've done things, but just watching somebody go to another city and perform is a big deal.
Yeah.
Or like somebody will get a Europe spot, and you know, like end of the day, most people be like paying their way into opportunities rather than getting paid for it. But it's still cool to see people get to positions where they can get to these things for themselves, where they get festivals. And I'm starting to recognize on the bottom row there's a bunch of Montrealers in Toronto festivals, and it's happening at the very slowest pace, but we're doing it.
It'll happen for you guys.
Yeah. A lot.
So it's always gonna be one. It's always gonna be that one that's gonna come from.
And then once you have the one,
it's gonna be like it's gonna be a lot of ones though.
Like
Because it's more like
somebody's that follow behind.
Well, like, even if you look at grind time and all that, right? Like, there was an ecosystem. There's a poison pen and a pH, and these people that held it together. We're in the phase of putting those things together so that there can be that person who's like 20 that's going to go pop off. But in a sense, a lot of the 35-year-olds and shit got to remember that we're mid-30s now, and we got to be paving a path for the little ones. So sometimes when a lot of the older ones never pop, they still want to be the one, and it's a little hard to pass on the torch, like the way that you guys having a conversation about
fucking crazy guys.
Like how you gotta want
like,
it.
my guy.
Well, it's like you gotta want it, right?
Not everybody. And then also, yeah, you gotta want it. And like
I'd be like,
our examples now,
I've been like performing every weekend in the last bit, just performing, and it's exhausting. Yo, half these people don't want this. But they're taking spots, and like, so there's some stuff that has to happen to focus on the youth, and until we focus on our youth and give them the opportunity to take those places, we're not necessarily going to get there.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always in the hands of the youth, man, because that's where the future is. You know what I'm saying?
But they're broke, so the people who have money have to kind of create some shit for them.
Or in like, in our case over here, everybody's either like beefing or killing each other.
Right.
Let's say Montreal has a whole lot of that going on, but I'm not necessarily connected to any of that. I just know it's happening, and not all of it's reported.
It's like a lot of talent out here. A lot of dudes get caught up with like gang culture out here. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Through whatever part of life that they enter it at. But a lot of them don't or are unable to find an exit out of it once they start getting a name. And it's like every other week, this was posting up like RIP such and such. They was gunned down at such and such. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these kids like nowadays, like they can't coexist without you feel me having fun with one another. And it's not a lot of like, it's not like how it was back during the hyphy movement, right? Where like that level of camaraderie in the Bay Area is something I'll never see again. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? I hope to see that again, but like it was all about having fun, and it was
It'll come back around. It'll come back around.
I hope so. No, yeah.
Life is really like a cycle.
I mean,
it always come back around.
Because that was like, that's a moment that I feel like if I was somebody else that didn't live in it, I would be jealous, right? Like that, like growing up in the Bay Area, like 2004 or 5, everybody was like slapping Mac Dre, you feel me? Everybody was listening to Jacka or Mac Mall or Too Short, you know what I'm saying? Like the style of fashion, the goofy ass fashion we had out here.
It was yours. It was yours. You know?
Oh shit! It was ours, bro. We had dudes in high school. When I was in high school, it was popular, like you know, to wear like the tall tees, right? Like the 4Xs and shit. But there was an era where dudes was wearing long pink tees and wearing Dora the Explorer backpacks, or like backpacks with like Thomas the Train Engine on it and shit, right? Like, like it was like if you've seen that style. Like if you seen dudes dressing like that, that shit came.
I've seen it. I've seen pictures. I remember it. I remember those days for that area.
It was definitely a fun.
Didn't somebody from the Bay Area have a battle and show up like that, like with the? I could have sworn I seen that in a battle. I felt like.
Oh, it reminds. Hold on, maybe it was so Mr. Fab, right? He battled Royce the 5'9". This was in like 2008 or something. He came. Right. He went to Detroit, and he battled Royce on stage, and he had like the whole like, like you could tell he's from the Bay, right? Because he he had on like the long like attire and everything. His shit was all spray painted. You feel me? With like
Yeah.
hella Oakland neighborhood spray painted on it and shit. Like colorful shoe, all that stuff, bro. Like he looked like 2005 Bay Area.
Fair.
He was a what you call those time capsules. You know what I mean? He was a time capsule. He was a whole ass time capsule. Yeah, nah, a lot of those memories are exactly that. You know what I'm saying? Like they time capsules of a moment in time in a particular era and shit.
You know what I'm saying?
So, okay, my fault.
No, go ahead, bro.
Now I was gonna say, so like, what's the right? Because like, right now you and So's, the project is out, right?
It's out next Friday, actually.
Next Friday.
August
Okay,
12th.
copy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you got a project coming with So's from EO Dub, producer extraordinaire.
Yes, sir.
And it comes out next Friday on all streaming platforms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Everywhere. Yes, sir. All good things come in time, August 12th. And yeah, every single streaming platform. It's my first like real full length project, like rapping project. So
that's dope.
That's
really especially proud of this. So's was like So's was super gracious, man, and like just the generosity of like trusting me with this production. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because like, you know, I met So's in the EO Dub beat challenges and everything, and he had I think this was like, it was last December. He had a post on Instagram saying like, hey, like, you know, to something to the effect that he was working on a project and he wanted to send beats out to people. So I was like, hey, like, you feel me? Like, I'd like to hear some stuff. So he sent me, you know, the site. It's just like, you feel me? Pick one. If it's not taken, take it. And found a song like almost instantly, or like found a beat almost instantly. Took like 2-3 days. Wrote something to it, recorded it, mixed it, all that stuff, and then sent it back to him. And this was like, this was late December. And he was like, damn, like, word? Like, oh, he's like, okay, we gotta do something. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, bro, like, the beat that actually ended up, that's actually on the album and everything, is a song that I did called Inception. And beat just spoke to me, so I just wrote. You know what I'm saying? And it's dope, like working with So's, because I don't have to worry about the production on this. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like I would do, like, you know, I did like a project in the past where like I did all the beats, and you know, and having to worry about mixing and mastering the beats and all this, and it's like it's really overwhelming, right? And So's just had the sounds that like where the light bulb would go off for me, you know.
Word.
So, you know, and so it's dope because like you know, we was like, man, we got to do like an EP or something, you know. And then the EP turned into like, fuck it, let's do 10 songs. It's like, all right, man, how about you know? And then we ended up with 14. And but yeah, we've been working on it for 8 months. Worked on it for 8 months. You know, just sending him stuff back and forth. Just getting like feeling like I'm improving as a rapper as I continue through, like you know, like the varied sounds on it, and the color, the texture, like to the instrumentals is like perfect to me, you know. And I feel like he captured a lot of what was in my head, but I wasn't like putting down, you know what I'm saying? So it made the creation of this project a lot easier, not having to worry about that, like that aspect of it. And I could just focus like truly just on the writing and just becoming a better rapper, better performer. And yeah, so's production like kind of set the scene for that. You know, it's like every you know, people like to describe like, you know, like a scene in a movie, you know what I'm saying? Like and his production just makes it easy for me to visualize those things and be able to write. So yeah, man, like I'm thankful for bro, you know, because like his production was key for this entire project, you know what I'm saying? And the creation of it and the like the themes of it. Like I'm more than happy with how everything turned out. And for the first time I'm really like satisfied. I'm satisfied with a project that I've done, you know, like exceptionally satisfied, you know. So
It's a great feeling.
It is a good
very
feeling.
great feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm over here like I can't even, you know, I'm trying not to listen to the album because like I'm almost anticipating its release. Like
believe me, I know you're
yeah,
like I have been sitting on volume 3 essentially for like like near since like I think like September. I mean, we were still making changes with music up until like January, but like really the album was in cement like for the most part like back in like fucking November, you know? And so like I just stopped listening to it for like 3 months or 4 months. You know what I mean? Like I didn't bump.
so it's fresh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that when I do drop, I don't, just get tired of it so fast.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
and I can enjoy it with other people at the same time as well. You know,
Right.
that's important
Super important.
for all of us. I think we're all over here agreeing clearly, so we're all of the same mind. Like
So yeah.
it's rough. You don't want to get
No,
tired
it's-
of music
right.
too fast.
But so yeah, it's coming out next week on Friday.
Yes, sir.
It's super dope.
And 9 p.m. for those on the West Coast.
Right. So it's a New York midnight
New
release.
York time.
That's fair. Yeah. Honestly, I don't know how much later I can keep going. It's almost 11, so I'm gonna say I appreciate
we're
coming
different.
through.
My nap did me great, son. Know what I mean, son?
I'm
I had
like
a
dying
nap.
here, and I'm like I gotta eat and be at work tomorrow.
Yo,
and
whenever you
whatnot.
have a nap, it's like,
Hey, I had a good time chopping it up with y'all, man. Like,
yeah.
and
a great time.
bro, like the best, you know, I like this because like the best way of getting to know somebody is just through simple conversation. You know what I'm saying? Rather than having set questions and this and that, but just
Yeah, we have things that we like to guide the conversation with, and a place that we like to start with. But from there, it's just like really a matter of it being a conversation.
Facts.
You know?
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, bro, this was fun, man. Definitely. And I appreciate you guys for having me on, you know what I'm saying, for considering me. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you for taking the time out.
Facts.
Thank you for taking the time out.
Yeah.
Did you drop the links in the chat?
I'm about
Holden?
to.
You should drop some links in the Ishmael's usually in the comments like, yo, links, son.
Yeah. So y'all can follow him at Lonnie.Oceans on Instagram, and he's got one of those link things that goes to all the other links from there, and then
Gotta have one.
Real quick, we got a listening party tomorrow. Virtual listening.
You got the
Oh, you
listening
do?
party tomorrow on Instagram Live as well.
Hold on. Mute so's. All right. So listening party tomorrow. Where?
So on Instagram Live tomorrow, it will be 7 p.m. West Coast time, so 11 p.m. I think for the New Yorkers. The New Yorkers.
That's dope. 10 p.m.
Yeah, we just gonna have fun. We gonna play the whole album. 10 p.m. Look at my math being terrible. But yeah, 10 p.m. for East Coast and 7 p.m. for West Coast. You know what I'm saying? If you guys are around, man, pull up. We're gonna be playing the album.
Unfortunately, not gonna
performing.
be. But the best excuse that I have is like it's the wife's birthday tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's like literally like, you know what I mean? Like I got the best
happy
excuse,
birthday.
You know, you already know. I'll let her know.
Yeah. My excuse is wait, tomorrow? I don't have an excuse. I can probably possibly pull up. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, man, pop in. You feel me? Yeah, we just gonna be playing the music, and then otherwise, man, like I said, album drops next Friday, August 12th.
Dope.
All good things come in time. Lonnie Oceans on the vocals, and Mr. Soulful Souls on the production.
Fire. Yeah, I look forward to hearing that for
beautiful
real.
combination. And Souls did every track then.
So Souls did just about every track. There's one, the interlude I actually did, but it was from a sample that he gave me. So
nice, even better.
So
even
he still has production credit.
It's still a true all the way collaboration. 100%. That's dope.
So yeah,
that's super dope.
And
I'm looking forward to
still
it.
get the production credit on there too, as well. So
that's dope. And I appreciate you coming through for this conversation. It was super good to have you here.
Appreciate y'all.
And shout out,
appreciate you, brother.
And shout out everybody that's still watching it and all the people watching it on the future. Make sure to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And shout out End of the Week for holding us down with the whole thing and hosting it. Make sure to follow them at eodub.com, eodub.com. Then you can get to all their various platforms. And so yeah, thank you all for watching again, everyone. And then live long and prosper, everybody out there.
Hey.
Peace.
Peace out, y'all.